All right, everybody, thank you for listening. We are brought to you by Boss Bears Supplements. Hard work, consistency, and determination are difficult to sustain when your mind and body can't keep up. Fuel your body with what it needs to perform like a boss. Whether you're closing deals, pitching a new business idea, or training in the gym, Boss Bears take your hustle to the next level. Our ingredients are the highest quality with potency and serving sizes that are the gold standard in the industry. Right here we got Boss Bears apple cider vinegar gummy bears. So Boss Bears supplements take regular supplements and put them in the delicious form of a gummy. These are the apple cider vinegar gummies and they are fucking delicious. The sugar content is pretty low. You're going to get all of your daily apple cider vinegar in delicious apple gummy flavor. Check it out. Go to bossbears.com and use code Nicky to save 10%. Hey, we are also brought to you by Clout Power Supplements. Cloutpower.com, Kloutpwr. Go to cloutpower.com and check out Clout Power Supplements. Use code Nicky to save 15% at checkout. They just came out with the new pre-workout flavor Space Candy. It is absolutely delicious. I've tried it myself. My favorite of the pre-workouts is the Mamba Extreme Pre because I'm a guy that likes stims. They also have a stim-free. They have a nootropic pre-workout called Karma that is also very good. They also have some delicious protein and just many great supplements. So go to cloutpower.com, Kloutpwr.com. Use code Nicky to save 15%. All right, man. Clout Power, baby. Let's. Okay, everybody. Welcome to the Nicky Free Podcast. I am here with the host of It's Off the Deep End podcast. So Eddie Lowery is here. And Eddie, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, brother. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, it's good to see you. So I've met you apparently at the body shop in Bothell, probably during COVID when everybody was lifting there.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So how you been, man?
I've been doing pretty good. I miss seeing you with the beanie doing deadlifts and rack pulls and stuff. But
yeah, that's kind of my thing, dude. I like to put the beanie on for that stuff, yeah.
Absolutely, man.
I don't know why. It's like you watch Instagram and you see like, it's like, especially in the winter, I see like even my coach has been rocking a beanie lately or some of the other guys. I'm like, God, that looks cool. I don't know why. Yeah. Beanies are cool, dude.
Style's important. And, style, you can use it to show who you truly are on the inside, on the outside of your body, which is also a cool thing to do.
Yeah, man. We actually get, like, different people have different opinions about that on here, like with lifting. And, some guys like to, like they mix and match, like, everything that they wear in the gym and, like, if I'm going to wear this shirt, I got to wear these pants. And then there's other guys that are like, man, who cares about what you wear in the gym? Like, just go there and lift. Everybody's got like a different opinion about that shit, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I love it. I love it all.
I do too. I like all of it.
Like cut off flannels. When for the lumberjack boys. I got somebody that just come in right after work on construction sites and stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll walk in with their boots on.
It's like just create yourself, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hell yeah, dude. So what was it that made you get into the podcast world, dude? Was it like something you'd been planning for a long time or?
Well, I looked around at everybody around me, and I saw so many different personalities. We are, as human beings, connected on so many different levels.
Right.
You'll walk 10 minutes and ask somebody, hey, tell me your life story, and you'll never expect to get what you get, let alone your own friend group. And we all benefit so much from our life experiences. One of the coolest things about me being in the military, I have to say, is it's not the whole military aspect, it's the people you connect with on different levels.
So it's people that you've met. Yeah. And I imagine in the military you get that closeness with people that you just can't get anywhere else, probably.
Yes, brother.
Yeah.
Almost not everywhere else. There are, you create a sense of brotherhood, camaraderie, I would say.
Yep.
A family that you never know you needed or had.
Yeah. So how long did you serve?
I did 4 years in the United States Navy, 2012 to 2016.
No shit, man.
Yeah. Right after high school, I left out.
And do you think that was probably a good experience for you?
I would say
overall, or
I would say yes. I would say yes. Yeah. Some, every day has its ups and downs. Usually after post-military service, you have some mixed feelings, I would say, about it. But ultimately, yeah.
Okay.
And for a multitude of reasons, not just because the 9/11 GI Bill or
but like discipline, structure, those brotherhoods, probably certain confidence level that you get from it.
Yes, especially from having a lack of guidance in your home life. Going to the military can be exceptionally beneficial if you are needing that discipline factor, because and it's something that does compare to what we do in the gym. Every single when we show up, we are giving ourselves self-discipline. We're saying, I could eat and just eat pizza and whatever and stuff my face and drink a bunch of beers tonight and then skip the gym tomorrow because I don't feel like going. If you feel like going to the gym every time you go, you're probably not going to go too often. So but it's not bad for you. It's so great for you. And the military was very similar.
So it taught you that discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah, discipline's weird because it's like, I saw this, there's all these cheesy quotes on Instagram, but it was something about like, it was something kind of like, boys do whatever they want, men, it's like, but it's kind of, there is value in it because it is like, if you just do whatever you want, whenever you want, you never really get anything accomplished, and so it's like, I'm a creative type, so I love just like, music and going off in creative things and not caring about stuff, but you just like, you never really get anywhere in life when you kind of just drift through it.
100%.
You got to set some kind of plans, goals, and then do them regardless of if you want to do it that day or you don't want to do it that day. And then you're going to feel a lot better, like you said, with like the eating whatever you want or drinking whatever you want, dude. It's like, and then people wonder why they have like shitty mental health and they don't feel good about themselves. It's like, well, you're just randomly throwing shit in your body and you're expecting yourself to feel good. It's like... It's just not going to happen.
It's definitely not going to happen. Yeah. One of my favorite guys, Eric Turner, people know him as E.T. He's one of the best motivational speakers the United States or even the world has ever produced.
Eric Turner,
and he's super awesome. I love what he does. But one of the main things he brings up is behind every principle is a promise. But behind your feelings, you might have absolutely nothing right there. And a big part of that speech he was giving was some people, you might not be where you want to be in life right now because you're just all about your feelings. You don't feel like going to the gym. You don't feel like showing up to work on time. You don't feel like putting more effort into your relationship or necessarily on the other side of the spectrum, leaving that toxic relationship you have with this other person.
Right.
And I love what he does.
Dude, that's like powerful what you just said. Like if you go off your feelings at all times, man, you're just going to lose.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and that even like gets you through, like if you're going through a down spell in life or whatever, because it's like, okay, like I don't feel like doing this, or I feel like, God, a couple weeks ago I felt great and I was really hit, and then, well, now you don't feel as good. But if you keep doing the things that you're supposed to do through that, eventually you're going to pop right back out of that again. Because you're still doing, because really the feeling doesn't matter as long as you're still putting in the work. And chances are in a week or two, you're going to feel great again. It's just the ebbs and flows of life, right?
Yes, brother.
If you keep doing the shit, I like that, man. Like,
it comes and go. It does come and go in waves. On so many different levels. Whether it's especially for fitness, because I love fitness. Fitness has always been like a backbone in my life.
Yeah. How long you been? So was that something that you got into before the military?
Yes, I was.
You were always into it.
Always. My parents they threw me into so many different things. Whether it was hiking with the Boy Scouts, or my parents used to tell me, "Okay, go jump for 2 hours on a trampoline."
Yeah.
And I'd jump as high and as hard as I could, or I'd go fight with hockey gloves because I didn't know that I didn't know that you were supposed to have boxing gloves growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
So I just got hockey gloves because they looked harder.
They looked the same.
I figured if they were harder, it would hurt to get hit more. So I probably want to get hit less mentally. And so we'd fight on the trampoline. I just go on runs.
So like, did you and your buddies like both put on hockey gloves and just pretend you're like fucking Mike Tyson?
Yes, man.
That's so funny because like before I ever, I used to do pro wrestling, and before I ever did that, like that's literally what we did. We had like our buddy, his name was Al. He had like a trampoline out on his farm. So like they lived on a farm, and they whatever, and our parents would go do shit because our parents were relatively young. So like even by the time we were like, junior high school, our parents would still want to go out and party and stuff. So they'd all like throw us in one house and like, you guys chill here tonight, you know, and we're going out. And it'd be like,
okay.
Oh, it was fun. Yeah.
It's a slugfest.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we were old enough to be alone. You know, they'd rent us some movies and shit. But yeah, he had a trampoline like out in the shed or whatever, and it had like the sides on it. So we did the same thing. We would just pretend it was a professional wrestling ring, and we'd just beat the shit out of each other.
Oh yeah, like, yeah. Oh yeah. And you know, the blood shows up, the scratches. But you're young. It's going to heal quick at a young age.
You're fine. Yeah, and somebody gets hurt, and then somebody else feels bad. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go that hard. You know, like you do that shit, and like, dude, that's funny as fuck.
Yeah, I love doing that. But even when it just started with, you know, doing random acts of violence in my backyard with some other kids from the street.
Yeah.
I learned. I saw my stepdad, who was in the military. He had this 25 pounds on each side and the old school barbell with the straight grabs, right?
Yep.
And it was just the curl bar. And it was
so he was already kind of teaching you like discipline.
No, but he left it out.
Oh, so you had it to use.
So when he wasn't looking around, I tried to pick up these 25s, and I couldn't necessarily do it at first, right?
Yeah.
But after I pulled off the weights and started curling just the 25-pound weight.
Yeah, it slowly built up.
The bar. We're doing slower reps, and because I'd watch, Arnold Schwarzenegger in movies and stuff.
Oh yeah, dude.
And I had to do it. I had to do something.
That stuff was so important when we were kids. Like we were talking about that a lot on this show. Is like the Stallone movies and the Arnold movies, and like something about. And I think those are like good things. Like it'd be like, you know, they had myths and they had like Greek mythology. I think there's always been that aspect of human beings of like the hero's journey, like telling stories, and like what it does is, you know, whether you believe in good or bad or evil or any of that stuff, like I think when you look up to these characters, it makes you want to be morally a better person. It makes you want to be, you know, so I think there's actually value in some of that stuff.
100%. It's like grounding for the soul. Like, so with electricity, it always tries to find the path to ground, right? And it takes the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Human beings, I think that we try to do that so often.
Oh,
right? Yeah. Everyone wants
homeostasis.
The easy way. People would ask me all the time, well, what's the easiest way to do this? What's the fastest way to do this? Maybe the answer isn't always, and I found this, it took me a while. Like I'm at the end of my 20s. I've learned a lot of lessons. Most of them the hard way because I was stubborn as hell. It is what it is. But maybe you need more resistance. Maybe you need those things that make you harder.
Right.
Harder times create strong men.
Weak men create hard times. Yeah. Hard times create strong 100%. Men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men.
A lot of times,
I do love that saying
because what we need, because it's the truth.
It is true. So it's almost like you have to I'd say that our current world that we live in, society, is so easy and so not hard on us that if you want to be somebody exceptional, you have to create hardness. Mm-hmm. You have to make things that are hard for you and put yourself through it, you know, and that's what, I don't know, there's so much value in that. But it's just funny, like, you reminded me of another quote where it's like, if you want to find the best way to do something, like, give it to the lazy people because they'll find the easiest way to do it, you know, shit like that. I'm thinking more in, like, manufacturing and, like, but I think taking the easy path is not necessarily good for us as human beings. Because you're right, we always want to fucking, you know, eat whatever's easiest or like layer, you know, but then it's like it's just not good for your mental health, and it's like
100%. I can sit here and say that eating like half a pound of chicken, 2 cups of rice, and green beans, and drinking a gallon and a half of water a day, and doing that meal multiple times throughout the day for the first year of my life with this bodybuilding thing was really hard, but. You know, and it would be easier to make a protein shake, but you know what? It's just not. It's not
the same.
It's not the same.
No.
And it's very easy to go in there and to the gym and have somebody lift weights for you, but you're not going to have the same results. Sometimes you have to stick your hand in that fire and see what you can become once it comes back out.
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, it is. That's how it is. You have to go through the hard shit. So yeah, how do you think that you got aware of that? You think it was the military or just like before that even?
It was a very emotional day for me, as it was for so many others. It was 9/11, man. I was in 2nd grade. My stepdad didn't come home that night. He flew to a different country, which I don't think I'm supposed to be mentioning or whatever. So
but he was in the
he was in the Air Force at the time.
Okay.
So he was running the C-17 cruise down from Joint Lewis. Back then it was just It was just McCord Air Force Base. It was before they did the merger, right?
Okay.
Because there's an Army base right next to her and an Air Force base. So now they're merged, and it's just a joint force base where you have Marines, you have Air Force, everybody pretty much on there.
Yep.
But when he left, man, it created this obviously this piece missing. My leadership role as a man, my example.
So your stepfather was kind of that role for you.
Yeah.
And then he was gone.
And then he was gone, and then I needed to be that father figure, that man of the house for my sister.
Yeah.
Be it for my mother. I didn't know. I was a kid. A kid. I just watched people jumping out of buildings as opposed to burning alive and making those horrible decisions.
Yep.
And I saw my leader had left the home. So I needed to step up, and you know what? It might sound kind of corny, but I was trying to figure out what it meant to be a man.
Yes.
I didn't have my dad in my life. I had my stepdad. He stepped up for me. So I'm watching movies. I'm watching, and what did my parents let me watch? Hercules. Hercules has muscles. Okay. I'm going to my grandpa's house. I'm watching like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's got muscles. Maybe there's this tie with muscles and feeling man.
So it's like these things became like the things that taught you like basically what it meant to be a man or to become like that person in your family unit.
Yeah.
And so you almost got it from watching, because you didn't have that role there to teach you.
No, he left, and I remember he brought back stuff like from overseas, from different countries he visited and stuff. And this wasn't like, normally people in the armed forces make Air Force jokes because sometimes they get to stay in hotels and stuff like that. So we'll clown on them. We'll call them the Chair Force because they get a lot of perks.
But Air Force does?
A lot of times, yes. Yeah. And it's a standard. It's not something that just happens sometimes. They stay in hotels.
Why is that? Just because they're such a specialized skill?
They have.
So then they get kind of treated like.
They do have some skills, and I would say they're bougie brands. I would say.
They're the bougie ones.
They're the bougie ones on the scale. So, but it was that driving factor of needing to be something for my sister.
Basically, needing a father figure role to look up to, and you found that in like these movies and like
and these
characters
they knew. Well, and also I realized later on down the road it wasn't because of their appearance. It wasn't because they were muscular. It wasn't because they shot guns or whatever. Like I love guns, but it wasn't because they were doing that. It's because they knew who they were.
They knew what needed to be done. They knew who they were. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is value in that. Like, how do you think that you know who you are?
I think it takes time. You have to look in the mirror and decide not to be that person that you think you look like at that time.
Right.
And go through some weird transformation.
Yeah, because
butterfly comes out of the cocoon, right?
Right, because I found that I think you just have to know it. You just have to like be it. Mm-hmm. You have to like decide who you are, what to be, and then go be it. And that's who you are. And not let anybody else tell you who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely, bro.
But I think a lot of people, they don't know who they are. And so they're always like out searching for it.
And making destructive decisions because of that search. Or just neglecting it altogether and saying, you know what, I'm fine with who I am right now.
Yeah.
And choosing to never, ever change. And my question to those people is always, especially my family, if you were laying on a hospital bed right now, why would you be begging God or whoever you believe in for another chance at life? Why? Mm-hmm. What dreams do you have and do you hold dear in your heart that you haven't accomplished? And the answer is always usually tears. Because you'll never know who wants to be great. Like you might want to be. What if one day somebody from Aerosmith walks up and hands you their guitar and says, "Listen, man, I need you to go and carry the legacy.
You need to become part of Aerosmith.
Great. You're gonna do something great, right?
Yeah.
And that would be like a dream come true for a lot of people who enjoy music.
Right.
I want to be an amazing father.
Yes.
I want to be better than my father was to me. I want to be better than my family was, and I want to create a society.
Now, do you have you have kids now?
No, not yet.
But you're saying eventually.
Yeah.
This is what you want to do. I can relate to that. Yeah. And when you do it, you want to like do it better.
Way better.
Yeah.
Way better. And it's not because they sucked.
No, it's not taking away from them. But I think I think that's normal. I think even like I would say like our parents try to be better than their parents who tried to be better. I think it's a natural thing to want to do a better job. You know what I'm saying?
100%, man. I look at myself in the mirror every single day and ask myself, okay, did we get 1% better than the last time you looked?
Yeah.
No? Okay, well, we got more work to do. And I don't think that journey is ever going to necessarily stop for me because being a student in life means more than just shutting the fuck up and learning from somebody else. Like you have great gifts and great knowledge that you can share with me, and I can carry that on to the next generation, or for my friend groups or my friends who are struggling with something.
Well, and that's why it's so important to be like get good people around you, dude.
Yeah, man.
That also like have positive. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you're hanging around with a bunch of people that are not going anywhere, I mean, chances are you're not going to go anywhere, and that's fine if that's what they want to do. But if you're like still doing the same thing you were doing 15 years ago and you haven't grown at all, it's like, man, I just can't. I think you're right. Those might be the people that like at the end of their life, if they were sitting on their deathbed, they'd be so full of different regrets.
Yeah, and
a
life of regret. That's
not
alive but not living. I is how I would categorize it. But that's just for me.
Right.
There's those. Them, but it's
there's
for me.
That saying like people die at 35, but then their body doesn't actually die till like 80, or you know what I'm saying. But like they're just done because they're done growing, they're done chasing their dreams, they're done, and they just get in this loop of like doing the same thing day in and day out. Then they go to the bar and they drink, and they it's like this like negative kind of cycle for like 30 some years, but their soul or spirit has already died, but their body lives till like 70 or 80. Yeah, that's like what you don't want.
That's definitely
you know
what
I'm saying
want.
It's like,
well, you look at our culture. If you look at it surrounds us in the movies and the TV shows, everything is centered around three things usually: alcohol, sex, and drama. Right?
Yeah.
How many people live those three things 24/7, trying to get to the next orgasm? I'm not going to say it too. It's not going to be too.
That is funny though, because
or trying to get to the next drink, or trying to get to the next, drum.
Whatever.
What did they say? What did you? Oh, did you hear what they said? No.
Yeah, dude, that shit's so funny.
That's how you live. We're not keeping up with the Kardashians here. There's so many dreams. Go be a great father. Go be a great bodybuilder. Go be a great inspiration to another human being.
Yeah, that's better. But you're right. That is like, it's always something. So like you said, it could be dramas. It could be dramas. It could be, like you said, alcohol. It could be sex. It's always like chasing like dopamine, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and then if that's all you're doing, yeah, man, it's like.
You're going to have some serious lows when you don't get that fix.
Right, and it's like then you kind of don't get a chance to like appreciate the small stuff in life either, because your dopamine's so fucked up from chasing those highs all the time. Because I even find that with like, when you do get on like a meal plan or like doing the bodybuilding thing and you're doing like chicken and rice and all that, and it gets kind of boring, but it's like almost kind of good to keep it just kind of level and boring, because you're not like, if you're out there trying to like go out and eat every weekend and like you said, you're chasing these dopamine things, and it's such a high and it's such a spike, and then you want it again. And if you just kind of keep it level, it's healthier, I feel like.
I would say.
But I mean, you gotta have a cheat meal sometimes. You enjoy yourself. I mean, like even this coffee right now, this is fucking delicious.
It's ridiculous. I don't think I've ever had coffee like this in my life.
Yeah, this is that Bones Coffee Company again. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll show you.
I'm gonna have to find them. My wife will love this. Wow.
Dude, they have like all these cool flavors. So it's Bones Coffee. So this one is like salted caramel. I think you can tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got like mint chocolate chip ice cream over there. There's cotton candy. They had a s'more flavor. So it's like all these. I think they have like a maple bacon. I'm gonna get that next time. I haven't had that. Yeah. But it's like kind of fun flavors, dude. Mm-hmm. Especially if you are doing like bodybuilding and you're not able to really eat a lot of stuff, this gives you like a little bit of a fix, because it's like, there's no calories or sugar, but it's just a little bit of flavor.
Yeah,
it's still black coffee, but it's got like a little flavor to it, and
I definitely enjoy it. I love drinking black coffee. Too much creamer and sugar can spoil something.
Yeah, and it's good that way too. But yeah, I just enjoy. Once you like enjoy it black, you just don't care that much.
Once you go black, you don't go back.
You never go back. Yeah, I've heard that. That's true, huh, man?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about your current ventures with this podcasting thing. How's it going for you? What are some of the best lessons you've learned from?
Well, that is the cool thing about it, is like you get to have all these people on who are, well, especially when they're people that are better than you, or they're in a position of someplace you want to be eventually. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, hanging out with people that are like, who are you going to take advice from? Somebody that's like, actually doing the thing you want to do, or some guy like sitting at a bar drinking, but he thinks he knows everything. Like, you're not going to listen to him because he's not doing the thing. But like, so you get to have these people in here that are like doing the shit that you want to do, or they've been, they've done numerous bodybuilding shows. So like they've been the place that you want to be. So they have this knowledge base and you get to like pull from it. But also I think it's cool because we're in this, era of like cell phones and social media and everything. And it's almost like, a chance to get back to like how it used to be where you literally just go hang out with somebody. So like you get to have like just like a person in the room with you chilling, having a conversation, and it's kind of like what we used to do before all the social media, but we're literally on social media at the same time.
I love it. Yeah.
And I like I think it's fun, man. I think conversations are fun. And I don't know, I've gotten to be such a fan of podcasts over the last, like, I'd say me and you are getting to this game a little bit late, because there's probably like millions and millions of podcasts out there.
Yeah.
But also, who cares?
Yeah, because
it's like it's fun to do.
Everybody has their own thing that they provide to the world. I'm on joining somebody on another one in a couple weeks, and it's a veteran organization that they're going to have me on, so I can talk about the things that I've been doing.
Yeah.
But they spotlight something different than I spotlight.
Yes.
Than you spotlight.
Right. Everybody is unique. That's the one thing they don't tell you is like a lot of times when people are trying to be somebody, they will, try to, I mean, obviously like if you're in a band and you start a band, you pull from all your favorites, you kind of sound like Metallica. You kind of sound like, because it's like you can tell who their influences are, but eventually you find your own voice, and that's usually what makes you unique, and it's usually just being yourself. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's the thing that like anybody doing a podcast or doing anything, it's kind of like if you're just yourself, that's what's going to make you stick out or be special, because it's like really there is nobody like each human being
100%
in the world. You know what I mean? It's like
as long as you're raw and authentic and open and honest, and you look at yourself in the mirror and you want to look with some confidence, with some pride.
Yes.
With some, I got better than I did last week, and
I
want to pass this on to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. That is the ultimate feeling. That's one of the highs I would take from life, I would say.
Yeah.
I can get high by being completely sober and knowing that I improved by just 1% better
right.
that day.
To me, there's really nothing better. Because those other highs are usually pretty empty.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
they are.
But it's like also I think I like podcasts because it's like I've always been, I've had pro wrestling and I've been playing in bands and everything. So there's always like this like performance. And it's like this isn't really a performance because it's chill, but it is. You're still expected to like keep a conversation going or like, so it's like it kind of fulfills that need that I have of like performing or, staying out in the sphere, putting something out creative.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Being connected with other human beings.
Yeah.
I think these podcasts and not just podcasts, but music as well, like he's
creating shit. Yeah.
It's so personal. It's so personal. This is way more personal than speaking in front of thousands of people.
Right.
This is so much more personal than bumping into 10 people and them trying to talk to you about.
I have some people that won't even come on because they're scared of like, just scared of.
Right is what they call it.
Well, I wouldn't even say. I think some people do have fear of public speaking, which I always. When I'm in here doing the podcast, I feel like it's such a relaxed vibe. I'm like, I can't imagine somebody being scared, but then I got to remember, like, oh God, like if you've never done one of these before and you're coming on, I have to like put myself in someone else's shoes, or like me when I was younger, and then I forget, like I've done bands and pro wrestling and these other things that have been in front of people, so I maybe take for granted that I have that ability of like, oh, I'm not that scared of that stuff. Well, also bartending, you're in front of people all the time. So then sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I hope my guest is feeling, comfortable, or, you know what I mean? But you don't know. And you're like, oh shit, yeah, it might be kind of nerve wracking. But usually they end up feeling comfortable and they have a great, time. And then they're like, damn, I've never been on a podcast before. That was cool. And like, you've had some dope guests too, man.
I gotta be honest, man. Sometimes when I get done with hearing somebody else's life story or hear them express themselves about serious lows and how they've overcome them, it can get super, super heavy, especially the podcasts that I talk about and the topics of war, the topics of losing friends. Because
that's heavy stuff, dude.
It's heavy stuff, dude. Suicide prevention. There's nothing pretty about it. There's nothing pretty about losing friends overseas. There's nothing pretty about coming home and like I get emotional if I hear the national anthem, I get emotional to this day.
Mm-hmm.
If I hear a certain song that reminds me of another human being, I can just start breaking down and crying while driving. You know, because I've connected with people on different levels, and you don't have to be a spiritual. You don't have to be in touch with God. You don't have to be some amazing people to feel existential pressure from the universe telling you, oh my goodness, this was supposed to happen. You were supposed to meet with this person. You were supposed to have a conversation and hear the deepest, darkest parts, because people share things with me that they haven't shared with their therapists, their wives, which, things can get kind of uncomfortable there because, it's not like necessarily that you lack trust. It's just sometimes things just come up, dude. Things just come up and they come out, and it pours when a microphone's in front of you, and it's just a real conversation.
Well, it can be therapeutic in a sense, because there is something about it when you lock in with the headphones and you're in a different world than, just sitting around talking with your friend. Like, yeah, I think that can be powerful, man. Like, but yeah, you're dealing with, I mean, I think that's normal though to get like, it's so weird how music can do that to you. Mm-hmm. Like, there was a song that came on my playlist the other day, and it was like this Pearl Jam song, and it was the song I sang at my sister's wedding. And I was like, got all emotional, like missing her and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? But it's like, just like, I love it. And it's like weird how music can do that shit to you, man. But like, yeah, I mean, and I've never, luckily, I've lost people, but not, I don't know the kind of things you're dealing with like, or the people that you're interviewing where they've actually, I can't imagine what war does where it's not supposed to be that way. When you're young and you lose somebody that's like in the same age group as you, and you guys are like, there's this idea. I mean, I've lost a few people that I've known to like, drunk driving, or they've been killed that way too young. But I think it's so unnatural. Like especially when you're friends with somebody, and you make a bond and you think like they're going to go get married and they're going to have kids and they're going to die when they're 80. And that's, and then to lose them at such a young age is, I don't know if people ever get over some of that stuff,
That's definitely not. Definitely not. When you, especially for, I want to just give a shout out to all the people out there who have served, because thank you for doing something so we didn't get drafted or conscripted. We look at these other countries where military service is mandatory. You're required to go overseas and potentially remove life from this earth. Not just to preserve your life, but your buddy's life, and to preserve this idea that we can come back home to this country right here and get on a podcast and say whatever the fuck we want. And if people don't like that, they don't have to, because we have amendments, we have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And this freedom of speech.
Oh, I'm 100%. We were talking about freedom of speech on here, and I'm just kind of a free speech absolutist in most ways. And that's one thing I don't like that's been going on lately is like trying to like cut out free speech and stuff, because I feel like it belittles our society when you tell adults that they can't know certain information or hear certain information, because it's like, basically it's saying like that the government needs to be a parent figure and we're all too stupid in society to hear certain things.
The government? I
don't like that. It's like you're making it out that the general population is a bunch of infant children that need some overlord to like protect them from speech, and it's like, I don't like that idea of our country, dude.
It's not a good idea, and it's not just bombastic. It's not just government overreach. It's not just a complete violation of if we can all sit here and say we don't like slave owners, for instance, right? Just bring up one of the most sensitive topics out there, right? Slave owners. A lot of people can say we don't like them, and that's okay. We wouldn't know about them if we censored what they've done.
Right. So you censored history, right? Yeah.
I'm not saying leave up statues. I'm not saying cut them down.
No, and that stuff, even some of that makes sense to me, like taking down certain statues or
if
like.
If there was a statue of Hitler, we should probably
moving on from the Southern flag and shit like that. Like totally, I get that,
Yeah, I mean,
and that's a weird one too, because like it's weird because even when I grew up, the Confederate flag was like just the shit that was like on a Leonard Skinner album.
Yeah,
like when I was a kid, I never thought of it as like, oh, they hate black people. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh, that's on the Leonard Skinner album. Oh, that means rock. You didn't know when you were a kid, But like at this point, it's like, okay, you get what it means, and it's like the idea of moving on.
Hazard, right?
Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah.
But it's like now in 2022, if people are like, hey, we probably shouldn't use that anymore, I'm kind of like, yeah, we probably shouldn't.
Well, when something's used as a symbol of hate, it's easy to be frustrated about it, right? A negative message always travels faster than a positive message. So if I sit here and have an American flag on my shirt or an American flag on my shoulder in my previous military uniform, right? Or if I hold an American flag and I say, you don't fucking belong here, you're probably going to start associating negativity with this symbol.
Right.
The American flag does not just apply, and it does not just signify just white Christian males, or as some would say in the world.
Right. It's all of us.
It's the same thing that was running through my grandfather's mind when he was overseas in Vietnam.
Yeah.
It was the same thing that makes me and my stepdad choke up at a Seattle Kraken game when we hear the national anthem.
Yeah, that's powerful shit, dude.
It's the same thing that it's a reason why people come here. People flee other countries for this idea that we can sit here and not have the cartel destroy our families, and we don't have to worry about other warlords like in Africa coming through and destroying our villages. There's so many powerful things that flag represents. So to say that the American flag doesn't represent a certain demographic, whether it's black, white, Christian, gay, straight, purple, blue, whatever.
It should be everybody.
Agreed. It does mean everybody. And every time I see that American flag, I see every human being in this country. No matter in what phase they're here, whether they were born here, whether they fled to find refuge here. We love it when when refugees come from Ukraine or from war-torn countries. I think it's important that shows you right there the American dream is still alive. I love hearing that people fled from Brazil, opened up jiu-jitsu studios in Texas, right?
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's
Texas,
so cool.
The worst place ever, right? They barely speak any English to this day. They love their neighbors with their big hats and their belt buckles and their guns. They go shooting with them. Right. That's what America's about. It's about
it really is. Brother. Yeah, man, I love it. I do. I feel like we just we take our country for granted, Which I get it. The whole point of the U.S. is like we're allowed to
be mad,
hate on it. Yeah, which I think that is. So like I get when people are young and they're like, "Oh, our fucking country's the worst." It's like
it's not the country; it's the government.
Yeah, you got to remember so it's like you got to go try to make your country better then because that's what it's supposed to be. But also, I think as you get older, you do start appreciating it more. Like, oh my God, look at. This girl that got killed for not wearing her headdress right.
Yeah, her hijab.
Hijab right. Yeah. And then all these other people trying to go out and protest that. And now they all might, face death or penalties just for protesting that. And
you can literally go on your phone, because we talk about how great technology is, right?
Yeah.
It is also a very powerful tool because I can look up my phone and I can see any act of violence. I can look up on my phone Iranian protesters being killed for not wearing hijab, and I can watch. And I have friends who left Iran, and they're working with me on elevators now, and they're telling me about the stories. I spent 4 hours one night after work. I got off work at 6 a.m. I spent 4 hours talking to this guy named Sam, telling me about how they have a secret police in that country.
Yeah.
If you speak out against them, they'll murder your dog. We have real things over here to be thankful for, and we don't necessarily have to like the government at all.
No.
Or how they operate. I don't like politicians. I think politicians are garbage.
Yeah.
You know what I like? I like representatives. But I absolutely love my neighbors, man.
Yeah, the people, the community.
The people in our community. We got to stop worrying about what orange man aspiration or what geriatric
man, orange man.
Office. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. Our neighbors, your neighbors matter. How do you even know your neighbors? Do you know your mayor? That's what's special to me. I know Mayor Frizzell in Linwood.
Yeah.
I sadly missed this huge thing. She came up with this idea to put this huge Gold Star veteran, and even spotlighted the 22 veterans that commit suicide a day. I think the number is higher, but she put up this memorial right on the corner in Linwood, and at the Vet Memorial Park, right? Just redid it, and on Veterans Day this year, she unveiled it, and to see all those people standing. Just to see this, watch people who served in Vietnam, people who lost loved ones overseas, Gold Star moms were there.
Right.
The emotional impact of just that community coming together
was
through the roof. I could feel the energy, and it was Wow, man.
Dude, that's powerful stuff. So what's some of the stuff that you do and why is it that so many veterans commit suicide? Do you think it's just lack of support? What could we do? Like, is our country lacking in that a little bit? Probably, but also just probably the stuff that they've seen.
I would say it has to be.
Some people are going to be able to go see that stuff and do that stuff and be okay. Other people aren't. I think humans are widely vary on that stuff.
That is true, man.
Well,
so I've recently been hooking up with a group called, multiple different vet groups. I started with me talking with just some of my vet buddies and we've sadly since I got out of the military, a lot of the people who I deployed with and who I connected with and went to A school or boot camp or stuff like that with, they committed suicide. Like this year alone, I've lost, as of just last week, 20 friends who I served with.
Jesus, man.
To suicide this year, and that's an astronomical number. Like we talk about 22 a day.
Is it lack of support,
20.
lack of like therapy, maybe?
I would think it's a multitude of things, because one of the craziest things that I've learned in this past year is that a lot of trauma starts as a child.
Yes.
Then it stacks up, and if we don't, like, no one has this book on life thing. We don't have one.
No.
There's no book that says, okay, your dad wasn't there. Okay, let's fix your daddy issues or your mommy issues, or you watched somebody bleed out in front of you at a young age.
Who's got a book for that? Like nobody.
Here, take these pills.
Yeah, well, that's what most of it is.
A lot of time we
go to the pills right away.
Medication.
Yeah.
Especially with America being a capitalist society.
If you go to the doctor and you're like, I'm depressed, they're going to be like, here, take these pills.
They tried to pill me, bro.
Yeah, that's what they do.
And I said absolutely not, and I walked out. I'm not going to use.
But
that's my choice, though. But
for you, like what? Fitness, eating healthy, staying active, like probably those things help more.
Yes.
Because that's what I found personally for myself.
Fitness is the number one thing I would recommend to anybody struggling with depression.
Start with that.
In the United States, is fitness. Fitness,
health.
The dopamine levels. Fitness is mental health. Fitness is physical health. Fitness is camaraderie. Fitness is sweat equity. Fitness is forcing these things in your body and blood to pump.
Dopamine.
You're gonna feel alive when your muscles sore the next day. You did something great when you eat that food.
Well, food can be medicine in a way. I was saying that it's like weird. Like you eat a bunch of low quality, low nutrient food for like 2 weeks, and watch your body get sick to a cold or like whatever's going around, and your mental health start to go bad. You start eating and putting in healthy, nutritious, like nutrient-rich foods. It's like medicine for the body, and it changes everything, man.
Yes, brother. And that's something that's big for me, and that's something I preach to a lot of these vets who do reach out to me, who are struggling. I have friends that reach out that are stationed in Spain. I've had friends reach out in different time zones in the middle of the night. They call me on. I always tell people, please, if you're ever going through a tough time,
just call me.
It's so much better than me having, or your friends who deployed with you having to deal with the emotional layers of not being able, like, obviously we left the military, right? I'm never going to be able to see this person. I've met over 5 of the people who I deployed with, and seeing them was this huge emotional full circle moment. Mm-hmm. You create these bonds, this bond of camaraderie and family. This person could have been like the dad you never needed, you never knew you needed at the time that you didn't have them, and you just toughed it out and thought you were, I don't need my dad in my life. And that's just the anger and hate speaking.
Right.
You're sad, and you need father figures. You need mother figures. You need brothers and sisters. And when you leave the military, you lose that camaraderie. You don't win a single firefight. You don't defend the ship. You don't drop a boat to pick up somebody out of the water. You don't drive a ship. You don't do underway replenishment where you bring on bombs and shit on the ship. You don't even receive your mail in the military alone. There's a fire team in that firefight. There, when you're going to stack up on a door, and we often tell people around us, hey, suck it the fuck up. You can't always suck it the fuck up.
Right.
When you've held
but it teaches you to like depend on other people.
Yes, you have to depend.
And so that's what you're talking about is community and stuff, and creating community. So, and if some of those people you say like, call me if anything, maybe you can get them through that dark time if they do call, because sometimes that's all you need is time. When some kind of darkness comes in and you start feeling those kind of feelings, if you could just get them through that period, and maybe they get to a period where the light comes back, because you know how those things kind of come in waves sometimes.
They do. That darkness is temporary.
Right. So if you can put off, and then that's when you do the rash thing of like actually committing the act or whatever, because it's like you're in a place where you feel like there is no other alternative or option. But if you can wait that kind of darkness out where, then you start thinking clearly again, like, oh, I don't want to do that. I have this to live for or this.
100%. And it varies too, because, I try not to talk about my own issues that I've struggled with, but there was a time like when I left the military and I was at the lowest of the low. I had everything I wanted. I had the wife of my dreams, the person who supported me through the darkest times of my life, losing my father when I was deployed. Everything I needed to help heal my soul.
But it still wasn't enough.
And there was something, this unspeakable thing that you don't even know how to classify it or to put into words.
Yep.
Was missing. You felt off, and it was because another issue that I realized at the same time, I was neglecting my physical health that I feel is tied to my mental health, and that's my coping mechanism for you having depression or sometimes we go through separation anxiety when we leave our brothers and sisters. We go through the loss of camaraderie, loss of family. A lot of us came from shitty families or families who had toxic traits who we learned were toxic once we left that environment.
You don't know usually till you leave it.
Yeah.
It is weird, those toxic kind of things. Like a lot of times, and people that have toxic stuff, they have a weird idea of what love is, and a lot of times it's super fucked up, and they don't realize it's fucked up till they like actually get into a healthy situation, But yeah, man, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. I feel like you're so right about mental health being tied to physical health so much, man. Like.
And it might not be for everybody.
Not for everybody. For me, it for sure.
And it's okay if the bodybuilding, lifting weights is not for everybody. There's jazzercise. You can do run and gun with pistol. You can become a great shooting champion.
Yeah.
You can yoga. Yoga's great.
Yeah, yoga's great.
Goat yoga or yoga with puppies. You know what? Maybe you can.
There's something for everybody.
For everybody. Listen, 20 minutes of walking can cure most bad attitudes.
That's crazy. You're right.
They say, hey, go chill out, take a walk. It's for a reason.
It's like first thing I would do is say like just walk and like drink more water.
Mm-hmm.
Start with that. Start really simple. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, dude.
That could change your life.
And it does.
Yeah.
A lot of the conversations I get off the phone with people, and now they're back to normal life society. Sadly, alcohol is a major contributor because what do we do when we're in a tough time? We try to numb that pain that we're feeling, and it doesn't necessarily help. I never drink when I'm upset, and I'm never upset when I drink.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose which one of those statements to make. I choose don't drink when you're upset.
Right. So it should be like if you're going to go out drinking, it's for a celebration or something fun. It's not to like deal with, because when you are in those situations, that's what happens is a lot of people go to those substances instead of what you're saying, which is what they're actually craving is like community, connection, healing, learning, growing. That's what they need.
Yes.
But they're not ready to deal with that shit yet. So they'll just go to like alcohol or drugs or something else. You know what I'm saying?
And the last thing that anybody on the other side sees or wants to hear is, I just can't do this, and then they don't ever hear back from you again.
Yeah.
And then they see a picture of you posted by somebody who deployed with you. That is a bad feeling. That's it. And we talk about, I talk about highs and lows often. That's a major low for a lot of people. And when you do that, you're not necessarily compartmentalizing your pain and removing it from the world. You're passing the pain to everybody around you who still does care.
Right.
And that's something I really try to push and show people, that us being so connected now with social media is that it doesn't end. Our military service time doesn't necessarily end when we take off the uniform. And the organization that I've been trying to work with a lot lately, and that has done so much for people in this area around me, is called Merging Vets and Players. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they take professional athletes who took off the uniform due to injuries or just their time was up, right?
Right.
And there's a huge mental health issue that they're going through as well. And we take veterans who are having serious, tragic numbers of suicide, and it's drastic. I've never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not spoken about unless you see somebody doing some push-ups and saying, here, I'm raising awareness, which is great. I'm not talking bad about it. But what if I had this idea, like, what if I, instead of doing these push-ups, what if I picked up my phone and just called somebody?
Yeah.
And checked in on him. Or I got a buddy, Tyler Yates in Spokane. Why don't I go visit him or meet him halfway or just visit with him and his lady?
Right.
Or, this guy's flying in this week. Maybe when he flies to Seattle, I'll leave work early, meet up with him. Buy his meal, drive him around, have a conversation with him, and send him on his way so he knows he has somebody up here. Or when I go to Vegas, I can talk to my boy Thomas Labarge. We don't have to disconnect from people.
Right, it's connections.
We took off this uniform.
Yeah.
So what the organization does is it connects people who do.
Well, nobody else knows the kind of stuff you went through other than each other. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like sometimes that's big.
I mean, Hollywood tries to do a good job, and there's a lot of great people out there putting out work that really spotlights true stuff. Act of Valor, they use real Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Active duty Navy SEALs for that. But the new movie that just came out on Veterans Day called Merging Vets and Players spotlights what the organization I'm working with is doing.
And then that's a movie? Where would you watch that?
You just find it on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime, okay.
Yeah, it's like you can rent it for like $3 or $7 to buy it. I just bought it because I knew I was going to watch it multiple times. But the organization I'm working with, they, if you are in the group and you have a friend who's a vet and their service dog gets hit by a car, they're going to be taking care of the hospital bill for that service animal. Okay, stuff like that. Your wheelchair is messed up and you can't afford it because you're literally living off a paycheck from the government because you lost
that's
the ability
huge.
to walk. And also, what's huge about it too is the peer-to-peer support. They have clinical therapists on standby if they have any person that Pop Smoke says that I'm really having a tough time. They start choking up when they're talking. They can't handle it alone. They're at a loss for what to do. We refer them to our clinical psychologist that's not just some paid person that's going to say, okay, have you tried writing a letter to the person in your family? Well, here's this medication. Pills don't just work.
Yeah.
A lot of times what we need is camaraderie. So they do outings. I loved watching multiple veterans at a shooting range being able to shoot guns from a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And to see the look on their face as they get back some of that identity that they lost.
Oh man, that's got to be so tough.
That is so powerful, man. And seeing the dogs and the service animals, being around them.
That's got to be so tough having being in a wheelchair, like getting disabled, or like, especially when I just can't imagine having that taken away from you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You
can feel like that's at the end of the
So
life.
It's like you're giving them back some of the, I don't know, just like the feeling of being, having value. Mm-hmm. Or like, because that's what happens, I suppose, when you lose your ability to like, if you're bound to a wheelchair, you lose so much of your identity, I'm sure. And like, because we all like to feel
invincible.
Yeah, well, invincible, but just like valuable, like able. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And to be, have that taken away. Because we've talked about that a little bit on here where, to a different degree, there's been trainers who have, helped people of a certain age get back to like functionality after thinking that they were, never going to be able to move a certain way again, or their back was never going to feel good again, or like, and so what happens is when, they get so depressed because it's like, you get used to like being able to do certain things, and that's taken away and you feel diminished.
100%, man.
And then if you can like, you were talking about like yoga, we talked about that, like that DDP yoga, there's that video where he helps that paratrooper who had served and he had jumped out of airplanes so many times where his knees were fucked and he's like on these walkers, and he can barely walk and he's overweight, and he starts him with yoga and slowly builds him back up. His name's Arthur. If you ever look up the video, like, good luck watching it without crying. I love those videos, man. So he ends up starting him with just a chair and small movements, slowly getting his, strengthening joints and like all the small muscles, and eventually gets him walking without the things. And at first it's sad because you watch him trying to take his first steps without him, and he falls again, but he keeps trying and keeps trying. And then the end of the video, they show him running. He can run again, and he's like standing on his head. Oh my God. Like he's like back to like functional, and he never thought he'd get that back. And it was like, that's like, I think there's probably a lot of veterans actually. And I even know I'm not going to say the guy's name, but I know a guy that's all hard up, and he's like, talks about the glory days of when he was younger, and he's like my age, and it's like, if he had the right support, and I know he could get himself healthy again, but he won't do it. He's turning more to the drugs and the alcohol.
I'd love for him to come hit me up, man, and we can find him that thing.
I could try to get you in touch with the guy, but it's kind of, they get in this pattern of negativity where it's all over.
Yes.
It's all over. I remember the glory days, and I miss it, but now I'm old and decrepit. But it's like, I don't think you are. I think you're eating shitty. You're drinking every day. Yep. You're not trying anymore. Mm-hmm. And yes, maybe your back is fucked up, but I bet there's stuff you could do.
There's so many things you can do. I meet with these. So every Thursday I go and meet with the vets in this group.
Yeah.
I have never seen anything more overwhelmingly inspirational than seeing a guy who's been blown up multiple times in Iraq can't even go into a swimming pool. Like, I'm talking about 9 deployments to his name. Like, over 9 deployments. And those are just the full ones he counts that are a year straight.
Mm-hmm.
Has been blown up. Can't even swim because he has a tube in his ear, and I don't know the proper term for it, but he can't go swimming. He can't submerge his ear because it'll mess up his equilibrium, and he's done. A guy who dresses himself every single day. A guy who works his ass off to help other vets from that same wheelchair that he's living in.
Yep.
And he, with every day grabbing the ropes, assassinating him in the rope workouts. He'll put the bands on the bottom of the wheelchair, tear it up with the curls, shoulder press, and you can see the ferocious.
It shows you it's like the spirit.
It's hard
it's
to
the
heal,
spirit.
and that's what I was gonna say. The human spirit. There is nothing on this earth more powerful than the human spirit. It's hard.
Right.
It's hard to kill the human spirit.
And especially if you get your spirit, healthy, like, even if you are bound to a wheelchair, or there's like that one dude, I can't remember his name, where he was born without like arm, and his arm, like, and he's still able to work out. He's found ways, like, he's in a video with The Rock and shit, and he's like done a bodybuilding show.
Oh yes.
You know that
he's
dude.
He's got in Cali, Nick.
Yeah, Nick something.
Nick something.
Long last name, Yes. But his spirit is healthy and positive.
Oh,
or like this guy you're talking about in the wheelchair, he's not going to let that ruin his spirit. Mm-hmm. So he's going to do everything he can. So it is, a lot of it is like how you look at your life and frame it. Because there are people who are living in a negative world who are doing nothing about it, and they're in a dark place, and they're functional, they could do something about it, but they're not gonna. And then there's people far worse than them, but their spirit, they figured out, so it's like, it doesn't matter what, I think anybody can do it, like.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
100%. And you nailed it, man. That's exactly what it is. And I try not to talk about what is said during these meetings, but one thing I just have to spotlight is that he said that, I used to look at this as a disability. Now I look at it as just another obstacle.
He reframed it. Yeah.
He completely reframed it. And that's what we can all do.
Reframe stuff. That's so healthy for you, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, so a challenge comes up, you reframe it instead of like getting down about it. It's just a new challenge. It doesn't mean it's over. It does, that's like healthy in life, I feel like.
I never thought I was going to tear my shoulder 6 months ago and have to live off L&I. And like I had 2 tears.
Yep.
The slap tear with the labrum, and then the ligament right next to it. I can't even pronounce it, so I'm not going to try.
Dude, you should talk to that dude I had on last time with that Round Box Fitness. That's what he does. He rehabilitates shoulders and stuff.
Oh, well, I'm back to... I found a spot that really helped me out. I'm not going to put them out because I don't want to cross-contaminate your previous podcast.
Right. Yeah.
But I had been working with them, and they've been doing extreme exercises, extreme weight training. They know I want to get to doing jiu-jitsu, and they know I want to be back to shooting guns. And
where do you train jiu-jitsu, man?
I plan on signing up at Kindred Jiu-Jitsu. It's been something that's on my mind for a long time, but over there...
I believe you will. Yeah. Cool, man.
In Edmonds, and jiu-jitsu is the most... I think it's one of the most powerful sports and powerful lifestyles that you can live. I
think it's probably the best.
It might be. It might be. It's hard to
I mean, I love bodybuilding and stuff, but yeah, like I mean, that's probably the most functional. Like, dude, that's so cool when people get into that shit. Like, I was even like on here talking about the new Megadeth album because I'm a huge Megadeth fan. Like, the lead singer of that band just got his like purple belt and then brown belt. I can't remember what level. Yep. In jiu-jitsu, and it's like brown. He's like 60. It's like, man, that's so cool.
In jiu-jitsu, I think some people have said it's not for everybody. I think that there is something that everybody can take away from it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that Colette's the professor down there over at Kindred said in Edmonds, and he's super awesome. But he said that you can take something away from it. You don't have to be great at doing jiu-jitsu.
But anybody
showing
could
up every day,
get something from it.
You can get something.
I've had a lot of Muay Thai fighters on here.
Yeah.
And they're very similar. It's just like, it's a lot of them have used that sport to do the things you're talking about, where like it's been the thing that's been the medication for them, you know, in life, and it's given them back like whatever it was they were looking for. They were able to get it through that. You know what I'm saying? So like that's a healer too.
Yes, absolutely.
Martial arts
for
can be
PTSD.
Yeah.
For PTSD, for normal mental health, it's a healthy practice, is what I would say.
Yep.
And I often preach setting healthy boundaries in life.
Yeah.
You have a toxic individual that you know that, yeah, oh my goodness, I'm dreading this person coming over to my house for this party, or
you only got to give them so much time, right?
Why even do that? Set those healthy boundaries. You have one life to live on this earth.
The power of saying no.
The power of saying no is so important. You know,
Yeah.
Rachel Hollis is one of my wife's books that she was reading.
Yeah.
Rachel Hollis's "Girl, Stop Apologizing" is the name of it, and just
Dude,
the
that's
title
huge.
alone makes me want to listen to it. And I just got my Audible credit just last night, so I'm probably gonna download and listen to it. But
Yeah, stop apologizing
the idea
is
of
huge,
stop
because
apologizing.
we do that shit a lot, man. Like,
Yeah.
it is weird. It's like you shouldn't have to apologize for being yourself, you know, and we do it way too much to make other people, you know, people want you to like make them feel okay or something. I don't know. It's weird.
You know,
Yeah.
people usually around me, and I make sure that everybody around me knows a couple things. One, that I honor my wife in most conversations. I bring her up because she's such a major contributing factor in my life.
Yeah.
Through all the tough times for me, and has really, you know, I would not be here today if it wasn't for her love.
So you speak very positively of her.
Yes, dude.
Because sometimes I'm not married or anything. I definitely see dudes do a lot of like, just like wife jokes where I'm just like, how do you
go?
Why would you say that kind of stuff about the person that you love? You know,
no, it's not good.
And I get it; they're just kidding most of the time, but still, it's kind of like
I want everyone to not just think, but to know, just like I know, how great she is.
Right.
Because like there's these cheesy quotes out there, behind every successful man is a great woman or whatever.
But
fuck that. She is the successful one.
Yeah.
And I'm feeding off of her greatness in my humble opinion, right?
Right.
But that is one thing I make sure I know in conversation. Another thing is that I'm going to be unapologetically myself.
Right.
You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. If I don't like you, I probably will tell you.
That's
because
valuable.
You deserve to know. Because you deserve to know. If I don't vibe with you, I'm just going to be like, hey, you know, I think you're a great person, but I don't think we can continue to be friends because of A, B, C, and D. And I don't fault you for it. But you should just know, because I don't want you to think I'm being standoffish.
Right. But if you have to like tone down your vibe or whatever, that's like, because I'll get this thing a lot where people will say like to me like, you know, it's like you really look like a douchebag, but once you get to know you, you're a really nice guy.
That is the most backhanded.
And I'm like, that's not a compliment.
I saw you in the gym and I was like, he's here to work.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
They
have, and so it's like they have this weird perception that like people who are into like physical fitness or their appearance or working hard are like meatheads, and then so they're not intelligent. They're like dumb jocks. They don't have anything good to say. And so then when they get to know you, they're like, oh, but you're different. You're not like that. You look like it, but you're actually really not. And it's like, that's not a compliment.
Associating.
You know what I'm saying? That actually speaks about their insecurities more than anything.
So much. And that my aunt had to deal with that with her fitness journey. You know, being a woman with muscle, and you receive so much negativity. And especially in this area, I know a lot of ladies who received negativity for having muscle in their body, and I just want to say to all of them, you know, be your own version of what beautiful is. You don't have to, you don't have to associate beauty with a size negative 27 waist, a Brazilian butt lift, fake lips, fake lashes, fake hair, and a fake personality.
The fake butts are too much for me.
Be authentic, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she dealt with a lot of adversity with being judged for her muscle. So one thing I've noticed in the similarities with...
We judge by appearance a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
And it's natural. I'm not knocking these people, but it's like, that is not a compliment.
That's
you know what I'm saying? It's like,
oh, you look like a douchebag, but
it's like, thanks for toning yourself down around me. It makes me feel better about myself and my shortcomings. That's basically what they mean.
That's like saying I am weak.
Yeah, yeah. And thanks for not like, it's basically like, thanks for not like being strong around me, because it's like, you know what I mean? It's a weird.
It's hurtful.
It's
hurtful to them though. To them.
Well, yeah, because I'm not hurt by it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not complaining. It's just like it's just a thing that I've noticed, and like a compliment I've gotten. I'm like, that's not a compliment.
Definitely
it's
not.
like,
definitely not.
Because I feel like there's a lot of dudes who are way bigger than me or you, way big jack dudes, and they get this negative connotation about them, like they're a big dumb meathead, and it's like they're intelligent humans. They just happen to value, their body that they've been given. It's like everybody values different things, and I think people that are, and a lot of weightlifters are, similar to, like you said, with these veterans. They're people that have had traumas or something they're dealing with. So then they're like, a lot of the guys that get into bodybuilding had, drug or alcohol problems, and that's kind of how they got out of them. And
I have tons of friends. I want to give a shout out to my boy Taylor Gardner. So he's one of the most inspirational people I've ever been around. Him talking about him struggling with, he went to rehab multiple times. He talked about it on my stuff, and sharing the deepest, darkest, difficult parts of facing who he was.
Right.
And fitness is, he took his addiction and he said, you know what, I'm not going to be addicted to drugs. I'm going to be addicted to loving myself. And how he loves himself is with self-discipline, because self-discipline is self-love.
It is,
when
dude.
When you say, I'm going to honor my marriage and not be a cheating, lying asshole, that's self-love. You're respecting yourself, and it's also putting it out to the rest of the world.
And relationships are like that too. They take discipline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's another thing I'm like not for people staying in relationships that are bad either.
100%.
But I do think like that is one thing our generation, we kind of just like, with so many options and like dating apps, and like we're pretty quick to just be like next instead of putting in work, into a relationship.
And I don't want to get it twisted. I fully support everybody always following their heart.
Right, yeah, same. Like if you're in a bad relationship, by all means, get out of it. Don't stay in it just to say, I'm going to work on my relationship. Yeah, that's stupid too.
Because, DVs, domestic violence situations aren't just, in my opinion, they aren't just about, using fists. A lot of times people are in abusive relationships and they don't know it. They just think that their partner has some rough edges, Then that's because of it might be a lack of self-respect. It might be just fear. It's scary to start over and try something new. But once you do,
they're happy with the evil that they know.
Yes.
So they'll stay in a bad relationship, and a lot of times you're right. Because like what we're talking about with trauma and stuff when you're younger, they don't even know that they're in a relationship that's bad. And they think it's normal, the kind of behavior they're dealing with, and it's like that is not normal.
It's not normal, and the damage and effect it has on the youth. Like, I can speak to people in my family. The damage on the next generation is a very serious concern of mine. We're seeing a lot of things going on in this country right now with active shooters, with bullying. Bullying is so bad. Bullying so bad. Self-harm is so bad. Mental health overall is so bad, and it's because, in my opinion, because a lot of generations, we had generation after generation of sweeping under the rug. Oh, just smile. Oh, you're married forever. You can't just leave him. Dude. Like some old name. Jill, you can't just leave. You have to stay with him, even though he beat you. Even though he. Well,
that's how it used to be, and right?
We accepted so many things. We accepted that creepy uncle. Remember, why is that a phrase that we can use? The
creepy uncle. It probably meant pedophile uncle.
Fucking pedo, right? Yeah. Get rid of them, right? We have abusive.
But it's like look the other way.
Like wife beaters, like they look the other way.
Yeah.
They look the other way on people who drank and drove with children in the car. I've lost family members. I've lost people in the military to DUIs. I don't fuck with that shit.
We still have way too much of that now.
And I can deliver alcohol to my house on a click of my phone. I can also get an Uber with a click of my phone. And we
right. It's so weird because I work in a bar, so I'm not gonna like say names or anything, but it is disheartening when you see, and it is weird because you will literally see people who are acting morally superior, barking out things about politics and this and that, and showing how morally superior they are to everybody else, and then they get in that car drunk and they drive home every night. And it's like, how are you acting morally superior, talking about all these other terrible people in the world, but yet you're getting wasted and driving every day? Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Where is the moral high ground that you were just barking about, politically in the bar, like one way or the other?
They don't have
You don't really have it. That's the thing. Especially if you're barking about it, probably it's because you don't actually have it.
Well, the loudest talkers are the smallest walkers,
Yeah.
And the loudest person in a dark room gets shot first. Those are two great lessons out there that I've.
That's a real thing,
and that's real shit too, man. Because you can't sit there and stand for something and then concede on the other side. I can't sit here and say, I stand up for mental health. I stand up for fitness, and tell somebody else, hey, you suck. That's not, those two things aren't aligned.
Right.
And my wife's mother reminds me of this. Sometimes I joke around too much. And she tells me, how you gonna be so positive and say something like that? I say, okay, I'm joking. Don't shoot. I'm joking.
But I mean, comedy's different.
But comedy's different.
Like,
but on a serious note, I really can't sit there and then say something negative. Like if I was saying something negative about you, let's say you were deadlifting. You're like, oh man, I love deadlifts. I'm like, deadlifts are for losers. Like, how can I sit there and be that? We have to be an even keel. We have to stand for something, or we will fall for everything.
Right, man. That's so funny because, like, I think you're right about being positive, but then it's like, don't get it twisted. Like, I like dark music. Yeah. I like fucked up comedy. I like, because, like, I think it's like going into those dark places is what helps people, like, because like South Park. I love South Park. It's so twisted, but what it does is it like sheds light on all these type of things that are serious things using comedy. And it can help people. Same with like music, where it's like, there's like, we're talking about suicide and stuff. There's so many songs that are written about like suicide or the artist being in a dark place, and people listen to them and then don't kill themselves because
so much Linkin Park, dude.
Dude,
we can talk about Chester. And great.
That was tough for me. How about you, man?
So
Chris Cornell, so Chris Cornell and then Chester shortly after, and I think the Chester thing actually was linked to the Cornell thing. That was really rough on me because, like, at the time I was in bands, and like guys like Eddie Vedder, Chris Cornell, they were like my heroes. And then like, so to have this guy where you like related to so many of his lyrics finally lose that battle, because he was a guy that sang about really fucked up stuff and like really dark stuff, but it looked like by getting that out in art, he had been able to beat it. And he had gotten himself to a point where he's like this celebrated, rock royalty, and he's got a great family and kids, but somehow he's out on the road and he's taking the wrong medication or something, and he has a bad night and it goes dark and he kills himself. And it's like, but not him. He was the guy that beat all that. He's the guy that like I look up to, that like all these fucked up things you feel, eventually you're going to win and you get to a place, but it's like no matter how old, you still have to keep fighting them. Because he lost the battle that night, and then shortly after, I think that, because Chester sang at his funeral, Chris Cornell's funeral, and then shortly after, the same thing happens to Chester, and it's like, how? And it's like, now it's like the world is like, it's so weird, because if you would have asked me before their deaths, like, if they would ever die, I'd say, fuck no, they're going to be playing in their bands till they're 80. Yeah. They'll be like Steven Tyler in their 70s still going, like, I just did not see those coming. Like, it's different when, Kurt Cobain killed himself, because it's like he was still younger. When you're younger, you're more susceptible, but apparently not, because it still got them. But, like, I don't know, like, or like Scott Weiland also died, but that made more sense too, because he never beat the drug addiction. He was still in it, so it was kind of like, but these guys, Chester and fucking Cornell, they seemed like they had fucking beat it. Yeah. They were like beyond it. They were successful. So that was hard for me to realize, like, it's something you have to work on till the day you die. Like, it's never gonna go away.
And that is something I can definitely resonate with, man.
Yeah.
If I don't lift weights at least every other day,
if you don't take care of yourself,
I feel bad. If I don't, I'll know, and my wife will tell me, she's like, "Hey, honey, are you okay?" And she'll like, she'll kind of send me the
It's a battle.
Hello, are you here? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Because she does a great job of checking up on me because she knows I've experienced things in my life, and I think we all experience things in our life.
Yeah.
On different levels. What might be horribly traumatic for me might be a walk in the park for you.
Right.
And we all, some of us are good at compartmentalization emotionally. Some of us are good at dealing with traumatic issues. Some
people are just
not.
better at it than others. And then it's like some people, there's that saying they always say about like the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So like honestly, sometimes you kind of are grateful that you've been through some like traumatic things because it's like something small happens, you're just like,
yes,
and then it's like it's hard for you to relate when you get like customers that come in the bar and they get all like, or like the Karens of the world, that's what they call them now, like they get all upset over like, well, they didn't have the coffee I wanted today, or like this. It's like,
it's a good voice.
That
sounds just like it.
Well, it's like that is fucking small.
You wouldn't imagine how many times a week I hear, why is this fucking escalator not working, blah, blah,
yes.
blah. And I'm there because it went off properly and the kid didn't get ripped into the escalator. Or I'm not pulling a dog out of an escalator or for an elevator, like even a lot of worse things,
Right, so if you've seen and obviously you've probably been through worse things in your life, so it's like it frames life so much different because it's like, you're telling me that's going to ruin your day? This, like, you not having the proper coffee today or some shit? It's like, that's so small. Small.
There's so much untapped potential there for worse.
Right, like there's women getting killed because they wear their fucking hijab wrong in other countries, and your panties are in a bunch over like not having the right. Oh, they're out of this thing. It's like, who cares? Like, so small. But
I definitely agree with that, man.
I have to like calm myself down and realize, well, that's the worst thing that she's ever dealt with. So, and she's still just a human being a human, and I'm gonna, give her the same kind of respect. But it is hard. It's like, try to like reframe these things because it's like like you said, our country, dude. Like what? Like I have a cell phone, I have a PlayStation, I have electricity, running water.
Yeah.
Like really, what the fuck am I ever gonna complain about? It's like,
100%.
And so it gets hard when you hear people that complain all the time because it's like, man, we have everything.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's hard to be humble. I think it's the polar opposite, man. It's really hard not to be overwhelmingly appreciative for me. And that's just my experience because I've seen, great people have horrible downfalls because of ego. I've seen horrible weak people have huge uprisings and a lot of personal, interpersonal development and create great connection with other people where they help others and they become leaders.
Right.
And then they're not that kid who nobody liked in high school. Now they're this great person.
Right. They found strength and
And I love those stories from the movies. Mm-hmm. I've always taken inspiration from the movies growing up. So
like, what are some of your favorite movies, dude?
Man, some of my favorite movies.
I love movies.
Great Gatsby because how Jay Gatsby in that movie.
Is that the one with Leo?
Yes.
See, I've never seen that. I should watch that.
Man, if you watch it,
is that good?
You're probably gonna end up crying because if you ever wanted to love someone truly and fully, you're gonna love him as unapologetically, as passionately, as overwhelmingly optimistic as he does, and that is how I look at my wife. Like I don't even want to.
Dude, I love that when people find.
I just get so emotional thinking about.
See, I don't think that's lame at all. Like, I feel like when people find somebody and they're in love, like it's like a beautiful thing.
And we've been together since high school. Like, we've already been married 8 years, man. And this is the same person. She's so much for me, and that's why it's my favorite movies because for the first time in my life, it wasn't in a book. It wasn't in me writing in high school, like what our dream person we're going to fall in love with is going to be like.
Yep.
I got to see the way I love her put in a screen with letters, with gold, with lights, with different colors. So
that movie just totally spoke to you.
And it totally spoke to me, and watching it when I was deployed was the biggest mistake of my life.
Oh, yeah, because it's hard to be away, I'm sure.
Getting so emotional, missing her, and you miss part of yourself. That's just one of my movies, though. Another one, I have to say, Lone Survivor. At the very end, they honored the fallen members of Operation Red Wings, and I got to be in the Navy with somebody who was just transferred out of dev crew and was getting back into it. There was like a mistake with his medical stuff or whatever, and he got stationed on a ship as with me.
Yep.
And he was one of Danny Deet's good friend, and Danny Deet's is one of the 4 that were up on that hill at the time.
Okay.
And so it was so emotional for me to know what my brother from the Navy was going through at the loss of his friend, and they might not have got the character right. And I was thinking of these thoughts, like they might have not got his character right. They might have not put the right picture up at the end to honor him in the tribute video.
Yeah.
But that song, what is it called? I can't remember the name of the song, but the song at the end, it's just so it just
beautiful.
Like
nailed
so
it.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
And they show the pictures of all the members of Operation Red Wings who had lost their life, all the way from their commander.
Sometimes movies get songs so right where it just hits.
So right.
You know.
So right. But those are just 2 of my favorites. Another one of my favorites would have to be that I watched as much as possible. I would say Lion King was great for me as a child.
Oh, dude, that's one of the best.
As a child, that was great.
Yeah.
He stood up, did the right thing, brave, right, tough, powerful.
He went back
against adversity.
Yeah.
He knew he didn't feel right about how he left the situation, and he revisited it.
And that took courage and bravery. Lion King is that's one of the best.
One of the best. What about you? What's some of your favorites?
I like so many things, dude. Actually, it's cheesy, but when we're talking about music, when you're talking about Linkin Park, I know this is cheesy, but I still love the end of Transformers when that Linkin Park song comes on.
Yeah,
dude,
man.
it's I know those movies are that's not what I consider great art, but I do love that first Transformers movie. But no, for me, yeah, definitely Lion King was dope for kid movies. Jungle Book. There was one called Land Before Time with the dinosaurs and shit.
Yes.
But then, as I got older, Jurassic Park's always a classic for me. I always liked those science fiction type of movies. And then I always liked Stanley Kubrick movies. So, The Shining and, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Clockwork Orange is one of the most fucked up movies I've ever seen. God, what else do I like? I just like all kinds of movies, dude. Yeah. All the Batman movies with Christian Bale.
That's another one. Okay, yeah. Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, that's one of the best.
I've never seen a great transformation like I saw with Tom Hardy.
Oh, dude, Tom Hardy was great as Bane, dude.
I know he prepped for the Warrior before.
Yeah, the Warrior movie was good with him too.
And it was a good swap for him, just putting a little bit more muscle thickness for that.
He looked insane in the Warrior too, dude.
Oh God, they got it right. They got his right. I followed his workout plan when I was on board USS.
Dude, he's one of my favorite actors, actually.
He's the best.
Him, Christian Bale, those dudes who really physically, and I think that goes back to Stallone because I'm a huge I always loved the Rocky and Rambo movies. Definitely any Stallone movie, I'm down, dude.
Yeah,
even the Expendables and shit. I thought that was super cool that he was a guy that had such a huge career in the 80s because of the Rocky stuff. And then 90s, he was in so many movies, and some of them were terrible.
Well, yes. Well, Sylvester Stallone also helped make the MVP movie.
What's that then?
The Emerging Veterans and Players movie.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, Stallone Productions, man.
Dude, he does a lot of cool shit like that,
so
actually.
So much cool stuff, man.
Because he's kind of a guy that's been through it, too. Been through a lot of different shit in his life. And, his son died. And, he's just a guy that keeps going no matter what. And But, then to have him, come back and, get this resurgence, in the 2000s with, bringing back the Rocky and Rambos for a couple more, and then all those Expendables movies with and then they started enlisting every badass known to man. They got all the MMA fighters and Stone Cold Steve Austin's in one of them.
He's great. He's a great actor.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. I like cheesy shit like that, but I also like artistic shit. I don't know. Definitely all the old mob movies.
Oh, yes.
The Godfather.
Yeah, Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. Dude, those are such classics.
Such a classic. I remember growing up learning about the Black Panthers and stuff like that with different movies. But the mob movies were always on the VHS show at my grandma's house. And he would indoctrinate me, I would say, to a culture because...
Yes.
I wasn't
the generation before us, they loved those movies.
They loved the movies. And a lot of times we show kids watered down movies. I did not get watered down. I was watching Black Hawk Down. That was one of the first war movies I've seen.
Well, if your grandpa was showing you those old school movies, the stuff from the 70s was fucked up.
Yeah.
Because the 80s was where it was all
kid friendly. Like you had like Back to the Future, but the 70s they were making like fucked up movies.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of swearing, sex, violence. Like
yes.
So yeah, that's cool that you didn't. Yeah, that was cool when you were a kid and like you had a family member that like kind of let you see the like stuff you're not supposed to watch. You know, like that was good.
When we're a child, we're like this beautiful sponge.
Yeah.
But each of the sponges has its own color, its own name, thing it likes. But we didn't have limits back then. When you were a child, you didn't have. All you knew is you could be anything. So people say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" "Oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be Jesus." You know, so you never know what you want to be. But
it is weird when you get older. You put all these like. I feel like it's harder to stay open minded as you get older, and I think it's a skill to like. And I do that with like even music and shit. I'll be like, because I get like such a. This is the kind of music I like, and that's it. And I have to like challenge myself to like. So like I've been definitely into a lot of different new music now this year where I'm like, why am I being so resistant to everything? It's like I don't want to get stuck in this box, like you know, because like when you're a kid, you're open to everything, dude. It's like
everything was even the Bow Wow, mixtapes. Like,
oh yeah. Like now this is what we call music.
Yeah, a lot of times it wasn't like I couldn't listen to Kids Bop. I wanted to hear the real shit. So I'd go upstairs and steal my stepdad CDs when he was deployed, and I'd be listening to.
Dude, that was the funnest when you were a kid, and you would like go find the stuff that was like X-rated, like it had the parental advisory, like, and you get to hear some music with like swearing in it and hardcore
Top, shit. AC/DC.
Yeah, rock music.
Oh my god, and
it was the best, dude.
100%, dude. Yeah. And I loved it all, man. I loved it all. But that was so beautiful about being a child and not having limits and restrictions.
It's funny. I've been watching these React videos, and I can't remember the name of the group, but it's like just like five. They're all African American dudes, just like five black dudes, but they're super young, and they do like React videos, and it's funny because they'll like listen to like a Metallica song or like they listened to Freebird by Leonard Skinner the other day, and it's funny because like they're so young that they've never heard these songs. Never heard of it. And so like when you watch them get excited about this shit, or they'll even watch like stand up comedy and shit. It's so funny. Like they'll watch like old stand up comedy and react to that. But it's like it really makes you remember what you're saying about being young. Because when they like first hear like Master of Puppets or like Freebird, these things that you've heard a million times, you get to see what it was like the first time you ever heard that.
Oh yeah.
Again, and you're like, oh my god, remember like the first time you ever heard certain things? And like when you're young, like they get so excited about these songs, and I'm like, man, like I feel like we can still do that as we get older. We just kind of forget how.
Oh my god, when Stevie Nicks song came back out, when Mr. Ocean Spray was riding his skateboard.
Yeah, that's so cool, dude.
His truck broke down. He was, he's having a bad day. Whatever, but he just put up this video of him drinking.
That was beautiful. That captured the nation, dude.
Wow, to bring different areas of culture together was so amazing.
Just comes in with that bass line, boom, boom. Yeah,
it can't get any better. My wife was actually named after the song.
Rhiannon.
Yes.
Is that your wife's name?
Yes, man.
No way, dude.
Yes, brother.
That's fucking wild. That's like one of my favorite songs.
It's I think it's one of my favorite too, man.
Like Fleetwood Mac, there's like a live version of it that's just sick. Like
with all them or with just Stevie Nicks?
Well, all of them. I'm pretty sure it was
I love the one where she's live in Chicago wearing all black. It was she.
I'll have to look it up. I love that song though, dude.
And the piano entry.
Yeah.
It was exactly how they did it in American Horror Story. And
dude, that show when they have her come in as like the witch, that's so dope, dude.
I'm not a fanboy, but I might have screamed.
I'm a fanboy. Like that show is great. I love American Horror Story. Like some seasons are better than others, but I don't know why, dude. That show, but the witch season and then having Stevie Nicks, that was dope.
Oh, I don't know how anybody could have chose a better person.
Yeah, of course she's a witch. If there was really witches, she would definitely be one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the witch of cocaine. Yeah, we're just talking on Oprah about her experience with life. It was so overwhelming to me.
Stevie Nicks on Oprah.
Yes.
Oh, I love YouTube for watching old interviews and shit.
Thank God for it. Jesus Christ.
There's some funny ones, dude. Like Tom Cruise with Matt Lauer talking about prescription drugs.
Oh yeah.
That's one of my favorite of those old videos. Like he's like, actually, Matt, you're glib. You're glib, Matt. Like he's just so funny on there, dude.
I love when people come out of the shell and really open up.
It's kind of weird because the stuff he was saying, like now they've actually come out with this big study that kind of like says like basically he was right. Like these serotonin things, they don't actually, like SSRIs don't actually work that much more than just normal, not being on SSRIs for depression. Like there was just a huge study that came out. It's like, wait, that's the shit Tom Cruise was saying that he got like in huge trouble for. It's like,
yeah. And they probably try to cancel him. I noticed that we talked about this a little bit about earlier about removing
speech,
like
canceling,
and stuff like that.
all that shit. Yeah.
I don't think it's ever a good idea to cancel people. And the reason I say it is this: how do you know who the bad guys are if you're only being allowed to see one perspective?
Exactly.
And
you can't
live in echo chambers. You can't live in echo chambers.
Right. And I think it actually kind of makes people more dangerous. So if, 100%. Say there is some speech that is bad and dangerous and you push it underground, you actually just give it more power. Mm-hmm. Like the Orange Man. You push him underground, it's like, yeah.
Yes. You know what? I don't think there's anything stopping him from filling those stands at these rallies he's doing. There's no stopping it.
Did it really make him weaker? Like, no, I don't know.
No, absolutely not. Definitely not.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. And the spray tan is just getting... He might be spawned. He might... I think...
Dude, that was
Tan might be sponsoring him. I'm pretty sure.
That same group that does those React videos I was telling you about, they did like Donald Trump's biggest insults, and they were watching. It was so funny. They're watching him like put people down and stuff. But the one dude's like, "How are his eyes so white?" Because he's got like that spray tan, and then like his eyes are just so white because he doesn't like. If he tans or whatever, he must use big goggles. Or if he does a spray tan, he must wear like these goggles.
Oh, you know it.
Because, like when you tan, if you wear those goggles, you just get a big fucking line right there.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
Trump's got white eyes.
He's got the whitest eyes.
Mayonnaise-looking eyes.
I wonder what people are, like in 10 or 20 years, going to say, looking
back at this era.
Like, who the hell elected, first off, this guy is not a reality TV show. A crazy businessman with a bombastic personality that airs out any dirty laundry he can possibly get his hands on hearing. And then God. We elected the same person who said, if you don't know who to vote for between me or Trump, then you ain't black.
You ain't black.
Like, are you serious? Is this what we got?
We're going to look back at this era, it's going to be like, what? Dude, that is crazy.
I mean, we talk about the crime bill. We talk about so many things. We can talk about bankruptcy on Trump's spot. There's so many things we can look back at.
Biden wasn't the Biden that he's trying to look like he is now.
Oh no!
In the past.
Now he's just going with it.
Yeah.
When is the ice cream special?
He's like changed for the times, or tried to for sure.
Yeah, man.
Dude, it is weird though, the Trump thing. Like, one of the most poignant guys I think on it is, I don't know if you just saw, like Dave Chappelle was just on Saturday Night Live, and his monologue, dude, like his monologue was like on point. Like when he did that thing with Kanye where he's like, oh shit, I got to put my necklace in. He's like, oh, billionaires tuck their necklace. I guess they don't wear it. And then he's like, Kanye, bring your necklace back out, bro. You just lost all your money. Like, just like the way he set that up with like putting the necklace in. Mm-hmm. But then he also kind of defended him in a way too. Like he's like, you don't know the stuff that he knows and the stuff he's saying. And
and he might not be crazy.
And right. And I love the way he was like, he said like, Kanye got in so much trouble that Kyrie got in trouble or whatever. Yes. He's like, and it's like, he did have a good point about like, you can group black people together and you can group Italians together, but you can't group, Jewish people together.
100%.
You're going to lose your $1 billion deal. It is weird. And it's like, I don't know, just the way he said all that. And then he also brought up that great point about like, you guys are forgetting how small town Midwest, like the reason they elected Trump is because he came out of the building and said, yeah, we're fucking all of you over. And then he went back in the house and started fucking you all over again. But he like came out and told you this is what we're doing. And it's not like it's just one side or the other doing it. They're all doing it.
Yes.
So it's like he basically came out of like, he's an insider because he is one of these rich people. And he basically said, yeah, we are fucking you over. And I'm smart for not paying my taxes and this and that. And he like told the truth. So Dave Chappelle called him an honest liar. He's like, he like basically came out and said, we're fucking you all over, went back in and started fucking you back all over again. But he was the only one brave enough to tell you, like, you're getting fucked over. So that's why people voted for him. It wasn't a mystery to me.
Because we got a shred of honesty from the government for for the first time in years.
Yeah, and people saw and they believed in that, like drain the swamp and all this stuff he's gonna do, which none of it really happened. But
yeah, well, the president
they liked it.
I mean, it all sounds good. They're good talking points, but ultimately, we're talking about stopping career politicians. Our current sitting president has been in office more than 46 years. 46 years.
Yeah.
We just and as far as our area, I don't care what people think about political, like left or right or up and down, purple or green, whatever, right?
No, I'm friends with everybody on both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
As long as you're a good person, that's all I care.
We just elected somebody for another 6 years, Patty Murray.
Yeah.
And not that I don't like her or whatever, not that I don't agree with her talking points or anything like that, because I think I like a lot of her talking points, I gotta be honest.
Okay.
She's been in office for 30 years.
It's just the length.
30 years,
yeah.
Okay? What would you do, or what would you have to do to unseat somebody who's been in a position of political authority for 30 years? And what is she going to do differently next time that she hasn't been doing now?
It's kind of like, for me to really get behind a politician, and I don't know how this would ever happen, or for me to really take politics serious, it would have to be like the people saying, like, we need to get money out of politics.
Yes.
So until they do that, I don't really think either side is that serious about anything.
No.
Because neither one of them is saying, like, hey, we need to get money out of politics. Like, that's the, yeah, that's the biggest thing. And neither side's going to do that. So
you can't pick sides and be right.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
You cannot.
But either side it's going to kind of be the same thing. We're not going to have health care. We're not going to have, like, it's...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even, like, those veterans you're talking about, imagine if, like, they had better access to health care in general. I guarantee if there was a better government program for that, it would at least eliminate a certain percentage of suicides.
I do agree. Every step in a positive direction that has to do with any veteran suicide is really important. Like, that's why I started doing this whole Squats for Soldiers thing. I started on the 6th, I believe, and I'm running all the way to the 24th. So every dollar I receive is a squat, and every single and I just put the squats on the internet, raising awareness.
I saw that.
I'm hand walking the money to donate it to the organization, because I don't things can get lost in the sauce when it comes to donations and stuff like that. And I don't want to do one of those.
Well, that's one thing with, like, charities and stuff. You have to be really careful with charities too, because a lot of them take certain percentages of the money. You want to make sure the charity that you're using is doing good things with the money.
And that's exactly why I'm doing it. That's why I'm running it solo, man.
Yeah.
And it's not because the organization I can't trust. It's because I want to make sure.
Yeah.
And honesty and accountability, they're all important.
Right.
So I put every single squat out. All the videos, I can tell you my legs haven't been this tired.
Dude, I saw that. I'm like,
so
Jesus,
long,
man, that's a lot of free squats.
Busting out 100.
That's like pro wrestling shit. They used to do a lot of free squats back in the day. Or they would do that to, like, punish themselves. Like,
170 is my record.
No shit.
And my legs were burnt. And as long as you don't take too long of a break, you can give yourself like a 10-second break and then go right back into it. And if you can push through the pain, you might survive. You might survive, but you're going to get burnt out, man. Mm-hmm. What do you do a shooting a lot or anything like that?
I haven't been shooting since, like... So I grew up around guns and stuff like that, and then did some deer hunting, did some bow hunting. And, yeah, we used to shoot guns. I haven't shot a gun in, like, years.
We got to change
I would do that with you. I would love to go try that, man.
Yeah, I'll bring you up. I just...
but, yeah, feel free to talk about it. It's an interesting topic.
The reason
I loved shooting bows. So, like something about the... Like, when I was in college, me and my buddies would, like, we'd, like, put money on targets and try to, like, hit it. And if you hit it, you have to keep the money, shit like that. Like, and, yeah, I don't know. There's something about shooting a bow, it's, like, relaxing, challenging. I don't know. It's not really relaxing, but it is in a sense, because you have to, like, meditate almost. Mm-hmm. It's relaxing in the same sense of, like yoga's hard, but it's like you have to, like, be in a certain mindset. You have to line up your pin. You have to, like, breathe right, release right. So, like, that, I do miss, like, that. And I'm sure shooting guns is similar.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's great because all I'm doing is throwing pieces of metal at other pieces of metal or at targets or whatever.
Well, I watch that Terran Tactical shit all the time on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely, like, and, like, the John Wick movies are the coolest thing in the fucking world.
Thing in the world. Yeah, so it's they're mixing up tactical stuff, 3-gun, running
with
gun.
a great story.
Yeah. And then they intermix judo, jiu-jitsu.
Dude, that is true. Yeah, the choreography's insane.
Insane. And have you seen the training videos?
Yeah, I've seen some of them. And I
saw
they're coming out with a chapter 4 now.
Yes,
and I'm
they
like,
are.
Dude, holy shit.
I'm pumped for it, man. And I don't think this is good. My wife's little brother, he's 11, Jackson. Jackson always talking shit to me. He's like, don't you think they're going to run out of good stuff to put out just like they did with the Fast and the Furious movies? And I said, absolutely not.
Not with John Wick. How dare you, bro?
How dare you?
That's blasphemy.
That's blasphemy. I told him, I said, there's no way. No way, because they keep bringing new things, new levels. They're not slowing down and doing the same thing again and again and again.
Right.
They're adding new heights. They're adding new moves. They're also keeping a core of just him be, this cold, closed off person who's struggling with things, and people keep fucking with him. People keep poking the bear.
Yes.
He's not the one out there looking for vengeance.
No,
he's not there.
He just has. It comes to him.
All he wants to do is miss his wife and
hang out with his dog.
Dude. And he's so chill.
Yep.
Don't poke the bear.
I know, dude. It's like I do love those kind of movies where it's like the dude who just wants peace and he wants to like get away from it, but it keeps coming back to him. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of good movies like that where it's like, if they just leave him alone, he just wants to be left alone. Well, even like the Rambo 4 movie was kind of like that. He's like, you ain't changing anything and all that. Mm-hmm. He's like, they go to try to fucking help. I don't know. That's a good movie.
Well, to know true peace, you have to know what true violence is, and I don't think that a lot of people in this day and age know what violence is. We see it when people...
Well, that's Rambo 4. He knows like what's actually going on over there, and he tells them like, look, unless you're bringing weapons in there, you ain't changing anything. Don't go in. Mm-hmm. And what happens? They're like, oh, this is what real violence is. Holy shit. Mm-hmm. We didn't know.
Well, we also saw it on the streets in Seattle, like back in 2020. Separate, of course, from
that was weird.
Peaceful protesters. You had people clad in all black, and they would smash shit up and break things. I've been attacked in my vehicle by people like that.
No shit.
And
dude, that was weird shit. That was some weird shit.
It was some weird stuff. I don't want to go too deep into it, but to know true peace, you have to know what violence is. And
yes,
I think I'm so thankful every day that I am a concealed carry holder. And
well, I think that too. That's really important. It's like, do you want? Okay, this is what I think about being like a capable human being. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if there is a thing that exists in the world that is really harmful or bad, don't you want to know how to do it so that you can stop somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, I just couldn't imagine like, and I'm not a fighter or anything. I'm not saying I'm like good in fights or anything, but like, I couldn't imagine just leaving my body weak and like, because like, I know what the real world is out there and I want to be capable to somehow defend myself. So it's like, I think like really good people should definitely know and train. There's bad people that have this ability. If you're a good person, you should get that same ability so you can defend yourself against that.
Yes, brother.
So it's kind of like becoming capable is one of the most empowering things that I can possibly think of.
And it's also important, especially for...
And then you can take care of your community. You can be that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Like, especially for the women, man, because there was a big time period when, and no one likes a guy who mansplains shit or whatever, right?
Right.
But there was a big period when men told women, just stay home, you don't have to work, you don't have to do this, don't try to find dreams, and they're at home with the kids, or let's say it's polar opposite. Let's say the woman is going and providing for the family or whatever.
Right.
And she has to walk down dark alleyways. There are horrible pieces of shit in this world
who
prey on people who they presume, and I say presume very honestly, women as weak.
Right.
So it's important to have those
I think you're right.
of defense.
I think it is. It's like there's always going to be bad people out there. Mm-hmm. So you want to be capable. You want to be a capable human being so that you can defend against that. So I think staying weak doesn't help your case.
No.
Yeah.
And weakness is, and you talked about fitness a lot, and we talked about it as well. Yeah. Fitness is a super important aspect of that. Can you kneel down? Can you pick up your 8 or 11-year-old who's been injured for some reason and pull them out of a dangerous situation?
Right.
Can you pull yourself out of a dangerous situation? or are you too physically debilitated?
Yeah, because that's sad. But
oh god,
I think we have this weird idea that like you said, that no violence will ever exist. We're so used to like society being protective, and like that's one thing I remember. Had this Muay Thai guy on here. We were talking about that. Where like I just don't trust society to be intact. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm glad it is. I'm glad I live in this country. I do feel safe here. I feel like society will stay intact for a long time, but I don't want to ever take it that for granted where like you don't know if it's always going to be intact.
Oh no,
you know what I mean? So it's like
never do. You never do. See, things get weird, man. When those bullets start flying, things change. Everything changes. You're never going to be the same person that you thought you were. You're only going to follow your level of training. You don't rise to the occasion. So
learning valuable things that make you capable. Mm-hmm. In something like combat or survival, or those things I think are valuable. And I think they still are, no matter how safe our society is. I think those things are still valuable.
Yeah, especially when it comes to first aid.
Yep.
Look at you can go on YouTube right now and look up police activity. It's a YouTube channel. They show almost every single police officer involved shooting through America. You can also look up active self-protection, and they put out a lot of great learning videos about people who decided not to be victims that day, and people who were sadly victims due to gun violence, knife violence, robbed at gunpoint, or how they defended against that, and some lessons to take away from it from professional firearm instruction and stuff. And they talk about, the first thing they talk about is, do you know first aid? Can you put a tourniquet on to stop blood from leaking
basic
out of
stuff.
Basic stuff.
We just don't know.
Like, you get shot in the arm, put a tourniquet right here. That first one doesn't work, slap another one underneath it. Those are just two things I just said that can save a lot of lives.
Right.
Or especially for the leg, like you put it off, cut off the arteries from bleeding out. We're just humans, are just people, like bags of skin and bones full of blood. If the blood goes out, we're not going to survive anymore.
Yeah, and these are basic things that we maybe knew, in society a long time ago when things were more dangerous. That's the one thing about society getting so safe. It's like we're like all have amnesia. We've forgotten basic things. Mm-hmm. And then, there is this weird thing where people do try to go out and learn valuable things like what you're doing with like shooting guns, or like if you go take jiu-jitsu. These are all things that make you more capable as a human being. But there is a certain group of people that like look down on those things. Like, why would you want to do that? That's It's like, but you guys are taking society too for granted. Mm-hmm. Like those are valuable things that wanting to know those should be a virtuous thing in our society.
And let's look at the other side of the spectrum. You're in a bad situation and you call the police. Do you know how long the average response time can be? It's very drastic. Having somebody try to kick in the front door and assault my wife and hurt her, was
you don't want to wait that time.
That was a major wake up for me and her, man. And thank God she is, a gun-toting, pistol-smoking motherfucker.
Yeah.
But thankfully she didn't have to use it, is what I'm more thankful for. But the police not responding in time was a big issue. I had to leave my job, and I was flooring it back to my house. And I called 911 like 7 times saying, hey, like I'm going to get there, and shit's going to pop off as soon as I get there. Like, you have to get there before me. Like, I could hear the guy banging on the door.
Dude, that's scary as fuck.
She's terrified, obviously. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
And no amount of training is going to stop you from having that uncomfortable feeling that something bad could happen and wondering what to do. So that's why we train. That's why we practice. Okay, this scenario happens. What do we not do first? We don't just go to shooting.
Yeah.
Because you'll see the inexperienced people in the videos become criminals for just defending themselves.
Right.
They don't know what to do. They pull out the gun and they say, shoot. No.
Because you're still trying to avoid that.
Gun ignorance is a big issue. It's taken the lives of people in my family. Gun ignorance has. Not knowing how to, honestly, as a child growing up, you're not exposed to a firearm. And then, you turn 18 or 21, bam, you get a gun. You don't know how to use it. You're screwing around with it.
Right, and you don't have the proper respect for it. Mm-hmm. That's huge. So, like, that is one thing. Like, I'm not, like a gun expert or anything, but because I grew up in small town Iowa where we did a lot of hunting and stuff, like you were around a lot of guns, and it was like, but you always knew how dangerous they are. There was like, my dad had guns, but there was like, and it wasn't like he specifically sat me down and said like, look, here's the thing about guns. Like, no, it was just like, you grew up around them. So you knew the respect level for them and how like, this is a dangerous thing that could kill somebody. So it was like, if you don't have that respect for it, and then all of a sudden you start playing with it like it's a toy, like, fuck, dude, that's dangerous.
I hate seeing. I hate, and I also love at the same time. seeing the videos that of gun incidents put out on TikTok.
Yeah.
Remember the guy with the pistol, and he's like, "Oh, look at my new AR pistol."
Actually,
and then he puts
shoots
it in his pants, shoots through his leg, and thank God he didn't blow out his femoral artery.
Yep.
You know?
God, that's so stupid, dude. When you're trying to like act all cool and tough, and
finger
like,
on the trigger,
I just watched a rap video, and now I got a gun.
Look at me, just because you put out a remix to get it back in blood, and you're pointing a laser at the back of your buddy's head in the video, like that. Those are not good. And we have. You kids.
Shouldn't be making funny videos like that. Like that's just not. They should be taken super serious.
Yes, and this is not a funny thing. This is not a funny thing at all.
No.
Like pointing a gun, there's like 4 basic safety rules. Keep your finger off the trigger.
Yep.
Don't point it at anything ain't gonna blast. Know what you're shooting at and what's behind it, and always treat every gun like it's loaded. And
that's like that Alec Baldwin shit,
stuff, dude. Alex Baldwin, yeah.
Think of that.
I didn't mean to shoot 2 people, but apparently I did.
Right. It's like he must not, like, I don't know what the fuck happened there, but like you said, you never point at something unless you actually have intent to shoot it.
Yeah. And whether he knew it was loaded or not doesn't matter. Okay?
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter.
And the person on the set, the gun expert or whatever, right? The gun expert, I looked her up on her stuff, and she might have been qualified or not. It doesn't matter. It's so simple to make a simple mistake. Like when I'm practicing training with firearms.
And look, I honestly love Alec Baldwin. I always thought he was great on movies and shit. Yeah. I think that's a horrible situation. I don't know, but yeah, that's so fucked up.
But it's all bad, dude.
Yeah.
And it comes with, gun ignorance is a big issue in our country. We don't know how to fight and shake hands anymore. We got kids putting all of their Snapchat in Chicago of them having a backpack full of guns.
Yeah. It's not cool. That's not cool.
There's nothing cool about it, man. And I don't know any other culture other than the culture that I'm a part of that openly promotes that, not just in the rap music, but in hip hop culture. But we openly, we think we almost popularize it. We almost idolize the action of murdering another black man.
That's terrible, dude.
And there's no other culture that you won't hear a country guy talk about. I'm gonna walk up on somebody else. I'm gonna run up on him with my truck and shoot this guy. Because he's from another.
Dude, there's some old country songs about but they're not like that. I know what you mean. I can think of some old country songs where a guy has shot another dude, but it's usually then they're filled with regret and it was an accident. God, there's a cool Johnny Cash song where he's just accidentally shoots this dude and then he hangs his head. It's he hangs his head and he's felt regret for it his whole life and. Just I don't know, some of those old country songs are deep.
You won't hear Taylor Swift talking about.
But yeah, it's different, right? Yeah,
you won't hear a jazz song,
But even Coolio, I loved that fucking Gangster's Paradise song. But it's kind of makes it sound cool to be loked out, it's
But that's the culture they live in, too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that artists shouldn't express themselves. I think artists.
No, they should. I mean, that shit was dope. That song was so cool.
When we look at Pop's. Who was it? We have Pop Smoke get murdered. We can go down the list. Just the other week, the guy from Migos was murdered.
I know, I saw that.
P&B Rock, he got shot. The robbery very quickly turned into a homicide down, and there was people taking videos. There was video footage of it. People were just standing around, not knowing what to do.
You're right. It's almost it's ego too. Mm-hmm. It gets to be this cool thing or glorified or something. It's weird, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Because even think about remember that Aaron Hernandez documentary, the football player? He must have got so deep in that, I got to represent and I got to, to the point where he just shot people and tried to make it go away. How do you get your ego that big?
And that's why I find it difficult to, now that I've grown up, now that I've seen what death looks like, now that I've experienced significant tragic loss at a family level and at a friend level due to gang violence, due to drug violence over drugs, over a piece of a baggie with powder in it, literally.
How does that's got to be so hard to deal with because it probably feels so there's no reason. It doesn't even, it's kind of like when somebody gets killed from drunk driving, you just feel it just doesn't add up.
Well, it comes down to greed, ego, and pride. We all want to be proud. Mm-hmm. We see the movies that talk about and the rappers talk about oh man, I made all this money. I get all these, these bitches,
Yeah, money, bitches.
Money, bitches, and drugs, right?
Drugs, guns, and money.
Drugs and money, and a lot of them are horrible shooters. And a lot I've seen. Back in I think it was 2019, there was a shooting on Seattle streets right in front of me.
Yeah.
And this guy was shooting. It was a gunfight, and they chopped up this little kid.
Jesus Christ.
9 years old or something. And I'm watching this person this young child lose their life on the street, and it reminded me of, is this that person has a mom?
Yeah.
That person had dreams they never accomplished, and all these negative.
That's so
things.
fucking sad, dude.
Yeah, man. But it all reminds me of my perspective. I have to have a filter when I'm listening to rap music. I need to have a filter.
Yeah.
I need to filter out. I might have the 808s bumping. I might be flooring it to work or driving my wife's car and crank up.
Because it is fun to listen to that kind of music, dude.
Yeah,
and it's like, I don't think all art is supposed to be taken literally either. Like, and that is, but people do it. It's weird. But I mean, like you said, it's kind of like freedom of speech. I don't think we should start banning. Right, like banning rap music or like, yeah.
Definitely not. We should never ban.
But yeah, it is weird how there is that culture in it, and
it's just weird. It's weird to me. And then you'll see people ban Kanye West for saying something when we have rappers literally talking about shooting a person who literally died from O Block or from 63rd. And,
yeah.
Well,
that was always like the weird thing when there was like that Spotify controversy with like Joe Rogan and everything. It's like. But yet you have rap music on there that's saying like crazy shit, and that's okay. Like, yeah,
crazy.
Not just rap music, but music in general. It's like,
and a lot of the youth don't have that filter too. So they're like, oh, I'm gonna go right on these, and I'm not gonna say it on here. So
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying,
right? They get that. They get that like idea that it's like cool and like. Yeah.
There's nothing cool about it, man.
Shooting innocent people. There's literally nothing cool about it. No. It's like I always think that too about like all these school shootings and stuff. It's like, to me, that is like the worst thing you can do is take somebody else's, like, nobody has the right to take somebody else's life.
100%, man.
I mean, obviously there's like, times when it's like if someone, like you said, is attacking your family in self-defense, those are justified. But like the idea, like you said, stealing that life spark from somebody that we don't know how many of them we get. We don't know what happens to us after we die. We don't know. Like, it's so precious. Mm-hmm. The idea that you think that you're so much more important that you can like take that away from somebody else is like, it's terrible.
I had to have a big talk with my wife's little brother.
Like the school shooting type of shit, like like the idea that you think you're in so much pain that you're going to go spread that pain around and that you can cancel these other people's life. It's horrible. And
sometimes it does end with them ending their own lives, but a lot of times I've seen that it's usually a human being, and ultimately, how are they get taken into custody without gun violence? Because they give up, they surrender.
Right.
They do a cowardice act, which is spreading pain and death.
They're spreading their pain to other people.
Or that sometimes they're just truly evil, brother.
Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're just like, it is weird, but it's like they're trying to get a status, and that's like they can't get it through money or fame or whatever, but they feel like this is a way they can get it.
The Joker never shot up a school, and he was still the most badass villain out there.
Right? Isn't that crazy? Like that speech he has in that movie is so true about like like all these terrible things happen and like nobody blinks an eye, but like it is weird. Like that once, dude, that's a twisted. Everybody loses. Watch that that's some twisted shit, but like there's some truth in some of that shit he said. That's why he was such a good villain. Like if you want to make a good villain, you always got to like, give them a little bit of like you can kind of see their point.
Yeah.
Or how they could get their mind there. Like, or what's the dude with the fucking rings, the Avengers where he like cancels out. There's like Thanos. You can like kind of see his point a little bit. So those are the greatest villains where you're like, I can see how he got there, but he's still wrong.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like
perspective building.
Yeah. So I always feel like the good guy can like actually see his point too, but because it's like Batman, he probably could actually understand the stuff the Joker was talking about, but you're still wrong, and I have to stop you.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. We have to, as a society, we have to do things to stop. I can understand someone saying, "Oh, guns are bad," right? Like I've got my fanny pack right now. It's like a gun fanny pack. So I can imagine somebody saying, "Oh my God, he's wearing an Only Gun shirt and he's got a gun in his fanny pack."
Well, I like the Only Gun
Be
shirt
some
because the
bad
Only
dude.
Fans,
Yes.
dude, that's dope.
Make sure you get yourself an Only Gun shirt. You have to. I mean, just Google it, right? They're great. But and it catches a lot of people's eyes too. They're like, "Oh,
Only Fans? Oh, Only Guns.
Only Guns. Yep, wrong."
Yeah, do you get a lot of shit for that kind of stuff in this area?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Well,
probably.
I get a lot of backlash. A lot of vets in my area get a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us use guns as something that makes us feel safe with our family because we know what true acts of violence really look like.
And once you know what violence looks like, you'd want to be capable of defending against it, right?
And it's not. I don't carry guns for me. Like my life is blow away, dust in the wind, brother.
Yeah.
You know what? Your life is important to me. My wife's little brother's life is important.
Well, it's also like it's part of your place in the community, probably your identity. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's got to be if you're gonna have a society that's like mostly weak people and not capable, and they all take safety for granted, you got to have a certain percentage of people that are capable there to kind of protect people, whether they think they need it or not. It's like,
we're gonna have a lot of victims, man.
Right, that's the thing. You don't want a society of victims.
We don't have enough cops. We don't. I've spoken to a lot of different people running for sheriff in the area. I've spoken to a lot of different officers. We don't have enough officers here. It's not protect and serve anymore, man. It's try to manage all these calls and also try to work all this overtime, but also try to manage your mental health so you're not making bad decisions.
Again, I'm sure that's a huge thing.
It's huge,
we should have a lot of support for police officers with mental health issues.
I mean,
that should be a huge part of it.
Yes, we look at the most elite special forces in the world.
Yeah.
We have Navy SEALs who do training, 6 months of training to prepare for doing these things, just for their deployments. They do a lot of work. It's called workups. So you do a lot of workups for every military branch. There's a lot of workups you do to prepare for doing work that might involve and probably will involve removing some lives off this earth. Whether they needed to be removed or not doesn't really matter. They have to prepare to do it and be able to make those split-second decisions.
And then be able to live with that after.
Be able to live with it after.
So that's the other thing, too. It's not just like seeing your friends die and stuff. It's like sometimes you've maybe been somebody that's had to, kill somebody. Mm-hmm. And then there's all these people walking around that have, and you don't know if somebody's a veteran, what they've seen or what they've done or what they have to live with. And so, like, I think that is huge for, like, mental health and stuff.
Dude,
it's
for
like
Vietnam vets,
that had to
Vietnam
be
vets
really
to be
fucked
walking
up.
around is wild to me. Like, because I'm gonna share this one piece, and I'm not gonna say names for obvious reasons, out of respect for him and his family and his kids who have had to suffer losing a lot of parts with their dad while he was going through his rehab. But I had a friend who thankfully went to a rehab facility, and thankfully he's doing a lot better with his family. And I try to just give him the space he needs to heal.
Yes.
But when he came back from war, he couldn't even walk inside of his house, man. The Taliban sent out a whole village worth of kids with guns.
Yeah.
And him and his unit had to just murk them, man.
Yeah.
And it really sucks because
it's
he was
stuff
so terrified to see his own kids because he didn't want to wake up from a bad nightmare and harm them.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to feel unsafe around them. And he slept outside the first couple of days.
Dude, that's so sad.
We wonder why we have homeless vets and shit. This guy was sleeping outside of his house. And it really messes with me, with my emotions to know that. But that's just one story. There's so many people who have had a lot worse happen. A lot of people have had their house cleaned out by their family members back home. Their wife is gone with the kids. They lost their whole home. How do they function normally with their child removed, or vice versa, their husband? For the late, because we have a lot of ladies who serve this country as well. Mm-hmm. So there's so many different ways, man. But yeah, for me to have my identity, having it be an armed member of society is so important.
Yeah.
If this person won't carry a gun, you know what? I'll carry a gun for you. You don't got to worry about it. If we're in an active shooter situation, I know I'm not going to bow out and just hide. Mm-hmm. I'm going to find the threat, get to them, remove that threat by whatever force is deemed necessary based off of the situation.
Right.
The situation changes nonstop. So if he puts down that gun, I can't just murk him.
Yeah.
We can't have, and police officers don't always have that moment where they're able to make that transition from fast feet. Oh, I just showed up on the scene. Okay, he's not a threat anymore. Oh, I shot him anyways. We see it all the time, and it's sad. It's sad because with more training.
And not all police officers have the proper training, and a lot of them are just so bad. There is like that stereotype of like just the fat police officer that's eating donuts and
they're out there.
They're out there, and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
They don't have better options. They literally do not have better options. They don't have better manning. But part of me being a member of society that's armed is understanding my individual responsibility is not for me to remove life. I'm not God. I'm not here walking around.
No. Yeah.
I have to assess the situation as it transpires and go from there. And a lot of vets do that. I want to shed some light on a situation that happened in Thurston County. Just what you talked about is vets finding their place, and these active shooters have been a big issue. My buddy down south, Anthony Tripp, he has been standing outside of schools armed ever since Uvalde happened.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of flack from it from the news. They've tried to discredit him on radio shows.
Yeah.
And every single news outlet in this whole region turned him down and talked shit about him. Said he's being he shouldn't do it. And the sheriff, the current sheriff down there, was talking crap about him, saying that vets shouldn't be trusted with guns. And I think it was very disrespectful to the vet community. I think that man is a hero for having the courage, after he's been blown up multiple times, to still stand outside of a school that his children go to, so that he's available,
right,
and ready and willing and able to respond if there was an active shooter. And I think that we can, through proper screening, of course.
Right. What if that was a way to
deter a threat?
Yeah.
If there were an SRO, a school resource officer, might not be as welcome in this day and age. We need.
See, and I don't know much about that, but that is it seems like that could be an option, right? To
with proper screening, of course.
Right. Obviously.
Evaluations, making sure they're okay.
Yep.
The VA has all that information.
See, everything you said there does sound reasonable to me. I think people are so scared of that, but you can't stop. I mean, I hate that saying, a good guy with a gun. It's everybody uses that, but it is true. You really can't stop a guy with a gun unless you have a gun.
And why? And if it wouldn't work, my question is this: why do active shooters surrender when the cops show up?
Well, either.
And why does it take if the active shooter response? It can take upwards of 9, especially in a county like Thurston. You're gonna have everybody showing up. The state patrol, the police departments from the surrounding cities, and the sheriff is gonna be all responding and collapsing on the school. It's not like a SWAT team shows up right when it happens. There's not active manning for, okay, we're going to sit in this SUV and we're going to gas it to the nearest school when there's an active shooter. There's not a QR.
They're not ready to go.
Yeah, there's not a quick reaction force ready to go. But having somebody who is willing to be at that school,
right,
to stand in the line of fire or to move to that threat and save kids' lives, it will save lives. And
I think it could be definitely an option. I've heard people talk about that before. It's definitely something where it depends on if the person
was mentally fit.
Well, no, that for sure. Yeah. The person who's guarding the school, but I'm talking about a shooter or something that might deter a shooter from even doing it in the first place if they know that they might get shot right away.
And this person doesn't have to be there to break up a fight and literally press charges on a kid for fight. Kids fight. I don't think that's good.
That wouldn't be their job.
That's not their job.
Yeah.
If they hear gunshots, they show up and they they do work if work is needed to be done.
Right. And they could work with police.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be something. I've heard people say that as because everybody's trying to figure out what do we do about this problem.
Yeah.
And I don't honestly I don't want to get myself in trouble, but I don't believe that banning guns is gonna do it.
Well,
because it's I mean, banning anything doesn't work. People are gonna get it, So it's
if you ban a book, there's gonna be a library section that says ban books.
I hate the idea of banning books too.
If you ban music, it's gonna show up on a different platform.
Right.
Why
you can't ban stuff?
You can ban drugs. Look at the streets of Seattle. If you want to talk about banning drugs, they literally gave up. They legalized doing drugs just so they stopped the police traffic being ate up with arrests.
Like you said, they don't have enough police.
Yeah, even if you do ban,
to keep up with it.
Yeah, but if you do ban guns, then what?
Well, there'd be a lot of underground guns.
There's going to be a lot of criminals with guns, and you know what? I just became a victim. If you took my gun from me, you just made my wife's little brother a possible victim.
Yeah.
People try to rob me over 3 times in the past 2 years in the streets of Seattle, leaving work.
Well, and to me, that's always been a big thing why I'm kind of definitely down with the Second Amendment. It's if our leaders get to be protected with guns, then we should have the right to do the same thing,
Oh, you can't touch a politician. They got secret security.
Yeah.
They have police
So they get to be in gated
events.
communities protected by guns, but we can't. Like, that's always where I've been kind of like,
it doesn't line up.
it just doesn't line up. Yeah.
Good for me, not for thee. It's what it's.
I hate that shit, dude. That was definitely the thing during COVID, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not for it, and I understand if people disagree with me.
Right.
But at the same time, my own family's been severely impacted by gun violence. So this is not coming from somebody who just thinks that I'm not a gun happy guy who I don't drink and I don't consume alcohol and shoot. I don't shoot irresponsibly. When I'm training with my firearms in a safe area, my bullets are nowhere near my gun. I use fake bullets that are different colors that I insert in my gun and practice drawing my firearm.
Right.
And I talk about different scenarios. I listen to people's.
Well, most of the safest people are guys like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the thing about, like, every time it seems like the people that actually use guns the most are the ones that have the most respect and are the safest about them, you know? So it's kind of like, I feel like almost we could use more training in our country with it, and then that might actually help make it safer.
I'm hoping to team up with a couple of sheriff's offices in the near future and put together, like, it could be on, we can record it on a cell phone, a training video of how not to be irresponsible with firearms. Literally, we could call it that.
Right. You know,
what not to do with guns. And it might literally save lives.
Right. The more people have, experience with things, they're going to be less scared of them and less chances that, less accidents can happen if they have the proper respect for these things. You know what else is crazy is, like, it was like, I know during COVID and when, like, a lot of shit was going down, it was like a lot of people that were like anti-gun all of a sudden started wanting to buy guns during COVID. Why
was that?
Because they were like, yeah. They're like, there's a lot of crazy shit happening, and all of a sudden they wanted that protection. So it's like, clearly there is a want for being able to protect ourselves. And
I think it's good to have new gun owners. I would be an egotistical idiot to say, in my gun community, we'll make sure you do that. No, I'm not going to say that. But I would say is...
It's proper training.
Please do find training.
Yeah.
There's so many free platforms. All on YouTube for free. There's also paid courses, especially for the ladies out there. We the Female. She's local.
Dude, that could be huge, I feel like. Because like you said, like, it's not fair, but females do get attacked more.
Yes.
And to be able to protect yourself like that, that'd be huge.
And there's a lot of assholes out there who are gun instructors and don't have a proper approach for domestic violence survivors.
Yeah.
For people who've been preyed upon.
Right.
Or people who have been abused sexually as well. And they need a different approach. I have a great lady, Carrie Sloan. She's on Instagram at We the Female.
So that's like specifically tailored towards that.
Specifically tailored towards that. Okay. And I've had experience, talking with her and being around her. I've gone to a couple of her seminars. And wow, what an emotional thing to be in a room full of women who are tearing up and shaking their head up and down at everything she says, because that's exactly how they feel.
Well, because some of them have had things happen too.
Yes, man.
So that's the Muay Thai people I was talking about. There is my friend Deborah who does Muay Thai. They do a lot of that training, like, for self-defense too. And it's similar to that. It sounds like a very similar thing. Like, it's powerful, man, because, like, and men get attacked too, but there's just something, women get attacked more than men for those type of things, like getting assaulted, raped. Like, so, like, I think that is valuable. Like, it's really empowering, can be really empowering, just to be able to walk down the street and not be as scared, Yeah,
man.
Because it's something like we take for granted. Like, I'm a pretty big dude. I never really walk down the street and I'm scared.
Yeah.
And it's like you take it for granted. And it's not fair.
It is not fair, and there's assholes and horrible people out there in the world who will do whatever they can to take advantage of children. And
I think we forget that. Like, you're right. I think sometimes because I'm a pretty optimistic dude too. We just forget there's some just really bad people out in the world.
Yes.
Like, it's not being negative saying that. It's just a harsh, true reality.
Mm-hmm. And there's some people who were just misguided. I didn't think that the guy who tried the probably, I don't know. It was during the time of fentanyl was already on the streets. So
right.
I'm not going to be surprised if the most addicting drug is going to drive someone to try to rob me at knife point.
Right. So sometimes those people aren't terrible people. They're just in a really bad situation that you might even find yourself in if the wrong things would have happened in your life.
And thank God I did. I've done my research, and I do pay attention. I do train frequently. I know the difference between knives and guns.
Yeah.
Guns are distance tools. So what I did is just create distance. And I say, hey man, that knife's mine now. Put it down. You don't want to do this. Your life will end if you try to harm me, and just leave, please. I could have been an asshole. I could have robbed him. I could have made him put his money on the ground.
Right.
But I let him.
But you stopped the situation from happening. Nobody got hurt.
Nobody got hurt. I got to go home to my wife.
He might be able to get better someday.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And you know what? I'm not here to play God and rule life and take life. It's not my thing. It's not my thing, man. I'm just here to make it home.
Like, my friend had that happen when they were gone. Somebody broke in their house, and it's like, imagine if they would have been there, like. Because, like, I used to dog sit, and she's like, man, I wish you would have been there dog sitting when it happened, because, like, you probably could have beat the fuck out of them. I'm like, well, I don't know, but, I don't know if they had a gun or they had this or that, but, it's like, that's a scary situation.
And cowards move in groups as well, man. The normal demographic is that these people breaking into homes are not traveling alone. There's multiple ones of them, and if you find yourself with a person in your home who's not supposed to be there, there's so many different tricky situations.
Where it could be multiple people.
People, and cowards travel in packs, man. You never know who's around. Securing your home is very, very difficult, especially on your own. That's why I encourage families to work together. Have an EAP, an emergency action plan for fires. Hey, all right, kids. Yeah. All right, kids. It's time to play that game where we hide up in mommy and daddy's room with the dogs.
It's sad, but it's like planning to be prepared is going to help you out a lot.
Yes. Absolutely, man.
God, see, I don't even think about that because I don't have a family yet or kids, but it's like, man, that's got to be scary when you, like, bringing kids into the world now, but it's, like, safe at the same time, but it's also not safe. It's like...
Deep breathing exercises, man.
Yeah.
You move room to room, move carefully, quickly, make sure you I call it shedding light on the situation. If you have a light on your gun, use it. Interrupt their ability to visualize what's in front of them, and once you find that person...
so you're going to be capable, man.
With that light, not with a gun.
If some shit happens to you, like, you're going to be, like, ready for it.
I would hope.
More ready than a lot of people.
Man, I hope, dude. I mean, I got the shirt. I gotta live like I got it, man.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we're up to 2 hours, so we can call it good pretty soon. But is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we get off, man?
Yeah, I just want to say a message.
Shout out to anything,
100%, dude. I just want to say a message to anybody out there who has ever gone through a difficult time in your life. You don't have to go through it alone. Please do reach out to other people. You are more loved than you can possibly imagine in those lows, in the lowest part of the low, when you think you can't walk back whatever mistakes you made in your life, or you feel like the world's all against you. You're not. There are people out there who will miss you if you do make that decision to harm yourself. And if anything, reach out to me. I have a network of friends who would love to talk with you about whatever you're going through. If you're a person who's suffered from domestic violence, I have resources for you. Sexual assault. If you're just having some suicidal ideations, please do reach out. If you need help with fitness stuff, there's so many. You can hit him up about fitness.
Yeah, hit me up about fitness.
Any dreams that you
Dude, that's powerful.
Yeah, man. Please do reach out to somebody, because, like, a big part of this year for me, especially about the suicide prevention work that I've been trying to do lately, is having to clean out my buddy's apartment.
Yeah.
From work, and that was really tough to help his family through it. It was something that needed to be done.
But dude, I couldn't imagine doing that. Like, my friends, if that ever happened, I could. Oh my god.
And that's how his friends were. His friends, I watched their hands shake. I saw the emotions. I went through the emotions afterwards, but I compartmentalized that.
Yeah.
And did what I could for their family. And
like, you had to be strong during the time, and then you had to deal with it later. Yeah.
And I don't think that anybody, if you're listening to this and you're going through a tough time, please don't make your friends have to pack up your stuff because your family is unable to physically. You're worth it. You're so worth it. You have so many dreams that you have accomplished, that you haven't not accomplished yet, that are waiting for you to take them. And this life is yours.
Right.
You are capable.
It's like never give up.
Never give up. Never give up.
It's always going to get better. It can always get better, like better than you've ever dreamed it could be.
Yes, brother.
You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely,
man, that's a powerful message for people. That's a heavy shit, though.
Yeah, it definitely comes.
Yeah.
But every time I get a phone call, or my friend gets a phone call, or every time you do reach out to somebody as someone who is struggling, that weight on your shoulders does get lighter. I've been there. I've reached out to people. I've put positive integers in place to where I don't feel that way anymore, through fitness, through family, through firearms.
So you have a resource where you can help people probably. And man, I think that's really important, the stuff that you're doing. And like even having some of these conversations with people on your podcast. So yeah, also go check out his podcast. Like, I mean, I think I want to listen to some more of those episodes now because it's like
some of them do get heavy.
Some of that heavy shit, it's like I said, it's hard to listen to some of it, but it's good to listen to it because we need to.
And I put trigger warnings in the if there's an intro, it might have some deep stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure to let people know. But that after people get off the microphone and we just cut the recording, you'll watch somebody smoothed over like a rock. And they've gone through this metamorphosis of confronting these emotions that they've been having.
Yeah.
And the feedback they get from their families is what does it all for me, man. It's completely like if there's a God, I can feel his blessings.
Yeah.
Being able to get messages from guests I've had on saying that their family has reached out to them after not talking to them for years.
It's probably what you're like meant to do, man. Like you said, like it's like there's probably a reason you're meant to do that. You know what I mean? Like I believe in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
destiny.
Yeah, the universe and like just certain things are supposed to happen and they do. Like that's powerful stuff, man.
Yes, brother.
So I think it's cool what you're doing, man. I appreciate you being here. And yeah, definitely come back on again, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll bring some whiskey.
Yeah.
And
I'm down.
I'll bring my guns separately, so we'll talk about guns one day.
We can check those out. Maybe I'll go. I would probably go shoot with you sometime.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
fun.
we can tear it up. I'd love to have you around some of these vets too, and so you can check out what they're doing. And
yeah, if there's anything I could do, like even through the podcast or anything, man, let me know.
Absolutely.
I think it is important to like try to give back and like you said, make sure that you're doing it in a good way and. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just even like leading by example like you're doing. Like even just you going out and like living your life the way that you're living it, I think is valuable for people, right? Because then they can see that you're like doing well and then also like what you're doing to help other people. But it's like sometimes even just like you leading by example, people can look to that, right? That's powerful shit, man.
I appreciate the compliments, man.
Yeah.
It's truly out of this world, dude. I'm so appreciative.
All right, man. Appreciate you being here.
Appreciate you having you on, man.
We'll sign off, and we'll see you guys next time. And thank you all for listening.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, make sure all that stuff. Yeah, everybody.
All the goods.
All the goods. Like, comment, subscribe, guys.
Press that alarm bell.
All right, guys. Peace out.